All right, guys. Like I mentioned in the emails, right off the top, we're gonna do an ichojime. What do we call it? An ichojime? Ichojime? Yeah, we're gonna do an ichojime. So right off the top to start it off. Ready? Yup. Okay. All right. Here's the. All right. I promised you guys why I want to do this. Okay. First of all, I was watching an episode of Kabuki Cool on NHK World, and they explained the traditions of doing their rehearsals, right? And they start their rehearsals and end their rehearsals the same way. They do a tajime, just like what we did. Tajime, they always say, is more of a business thing, so it means to seal the deal, right? That's why you see it done in markets and stuff. The other story I have is on with the news this over the past couple weeks that Fred Schodt is coming to Anime North. This is at least his second appearance at Anime North. You guys remember Fred Schodt?
Yeah, he's in Anime Academia and stuff.
Yeah,
but he has been here before, I know, and then Helen McCarthy's coming in. She's been here quite a number of times over the last few years, so she must have enjoyed her time because she's been coming back quite. Yeah, she's coming back again this year.
I think it'll be her third time then.
At least the third time.
The only thing we need now, just to get the trifecta, is if we had those two, and then we had Jonathan Clements from England too, because he does some great work too.
Yeah. Well, okay. As I said, in terms of Fred Schodt, he's been here this is to my knowledge his second time. You're suggesting to me he's probably been here in between his first appearance.
He might have this might be his second appearance, but I know he's been here once before.
It was as far as if memory serves me right, 1998, the second Anime North.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was a long time ago. That's why I'm saying. That's why I think. Yeah.
Here's my story, and here's my story from it. I sat in on a panel with him during that second Anime North. We did a panel about history in anime, history depicted in anime. And since Kenshin was popular at the time, and I knew a fair amount about or at least above average amount of the history behind Kenshin, behind Kenshin, I was asked to do the panel with him. And it was the first time he ever heard of it, and he seemed fascinated by learning a little bit more about Kenshin. And then the organizers raced right afterwards to get him a copy of the first couple of volumes in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Right afterwards, because I was the guy who actually got Fred Schodt curious about Rurouni Kenshin.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next night after Anime North, on the Monday, he did a speech, like a presentation at the Japan Foundation downtown, at its old location, and it was great. And oops, I should turn down the watch again. Just give me 1 second. That's the second time that's happened, isn't it? Because it happened the first time last week, right? Or last time, 2 weeks ago, yeah. Right? And how do I put this one? It was great, very informative. Talked about the manga culture in Japan, especially how it ties into commuter culture. We had a reception afterwards, snacks, a couple drinks, and we stayed right up until they closed, literally closed the Japan Foundation for the night. And as we were leaving, Fred Schodt stood and just said, "Okay, we're done tonight. Let me show you guys a rhythmic clap afterwards." And then he and the staff proceeded to do a tajime to end off the night. It was a wonderful night. I've emailed Fred a couple of. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. You know why?
Hello, can you hear me?
Expressed in the following are those of its participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the producers and the Six Talk Podcast Network. Also, the following contains mature material and mild language, which may not be suitable for all audiences. Discretion is advised.
Okay, where was I? I've emailed him a couple of times just to get his takes on the industry as it grew over the years, but I haven't emailed him in years. But every time I've emailed I know I'm continuing the story. Every time I've emailed him, he remembers. He seems. I always remember. Tell him, I'm the guy who did that panel with you in Toronto, and turned your attention to Kenshin. And he said, "Yes, I do remember you." And then he'd always give me a take on something. And we're gonna get on this a bit later. But I asked him his initial take on Tokyo Pop when it was starting to become popular, and he didn't think much of it at the time. He thought that it could be unsustainable, and there's been dips, obviously. And I guess that's another discussion. And obviously, if we're able to ever talk at length with him again, or if I'm able to talk at length with him again, I can get an update on his take. But it'll be interesting to see him back at Anime North at least roughly 21 years after his first appearance here. Oh boy. Okay. Everything's plugged in, right?
Oh yeah.
Everything's now plugged in?
Yes.
Oh my God. What a way to start the show. That might be the best clean open we've had yet. That might be the best opening we've had.
Well, at least the mice weren't on backwards.
No. or at least we caught it before caught it, because remember one time we did it.
We had to re-record.
No, we had to re-record part of it, but I think we did an entire segment where it wasn't plugged in.
So yeah, I remember that episode. I wasn't there, but I remember listening to that episode.
Well, that's just the way, I guess, those things. There's nothing like a well-organized show, and this is nothing like a well-organized show. So, good afternoon from the 6 Point Studio, which has been slowly dismantled. I'm sure you know what.
Were you able to sleep last week, Mike? Because they obviously couldn't do it 2 weeks ago because we had the snow and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But the noise, because they said the noise would be terrible.
No, it wasn't that bad. Were they able to dismantle all the bridges and all the things they were supposed to do? The bridges were dismantled overnight, on the first night. So the rest of the weekend they spent cleaning up Kipling itself, trucking it out and all that. Yeah, mm-hmm. That's basically what happened.
The drive-in was kind of freaky, not seeing that giant structure.
Oh yeah, because you were coming from along.
Oh yeah, you're coming the other end. So yeah, you must have had a different view than obviously us. You can't see it because we're on the west end.
I took Kipling south, and then when I was approaching, I had to remember that there's a bridge, and then there's some go left, some go right, and I'm just like, nope. No,
the bridge is gone now. Yeah, the bridge is gone now.
It'll be interesting once they level that all off and you have an actual intersection. It looks like a normal place you would go through, unlike what used to be.
Why did they build it like that in the first place?
Well, that was back in the 50s. They wanted, just
it was an interchange,
and there was a drive-in movie theater.
It was a normal movie theater right there where the TTC owns. Yeah, Westwood, because my parents used to go there. But it was a normal movie theater. You would probably recognize it. It was closed at that point, but that was in Resident Evil 2 at one point. And most of us, if we're from Toronto, we would know that scene in particular, but if you were there, you would know it.
In the early 80s, my uncle... in the early 80s or mid 80s, my uncle took me to a couple movies every so often.
Yeah, but it was there, I think, till the 90s, and then it finally, like everything else, they moved into the complexes and stuff like that.
The building still stood until for some years.
Yeah, because it was a parking lot for TTC, and they used it for storage and stuff like that. They used it for movies like the Resident Evil 2, and I'm not sure if there were any others, but they might have.
And then the teardown of the complex is fairly recent, albeit maybe about still 6 years ago, I'd say at least.
Yeah, it was a part of the plan, as you say.
Mm-hmm. It's so that's sort of what the neighborhood looks like. That's the big news around this part of Toronto. Mike Nicholas, James Austin, Kevin Ng, and Mohammed Shamarki are around the table. This is episode 8 of the Anime Roundtable. Want to do finally get all around to doing another full episode, and this time none of us are stoned. So
I don't know about that, Mike.
Those candies were weak. Huh? Those candies were weak. I had one after I went home that day.
So I'm sure when Neil hears it, I'm sure he'll probably try another brand. So he might need it right now. I think his toothache has gotten a little bit more of an issue again. So anyway,
I was always scared of edibles. That was what I was always told by people who smoked pot regularly. What they always told me if you're really gonna go edibles, you have to be careful because they're pretty strong. And then
I'm gonna guess that there's the concentration level.
I'm suspecting that to be the case. Yeah,
can't say. I mean,
remember,
not
it
to
was
say
made in kitchens, not in
the
factories.
Well, I mean, I can't say I know these things. Really, I don't. So. Okay, so where do we start this? Where do we want to start? Because there's a lot of stuff. The reason I want all you guys to do the show this week.
I guess we might as well start from where we were last week, Mike, as you said you want maybe some takes from Mo and Kevin there.
Okay, so
Kevin, what do you think of the whole Vic?
You mean Vic Mangina?
I thought it was Mignonga. Mignonga?
Vic Mangina?
Mignonga?
See, that was the name that one of my anime club friends would always use whenever she talked about him. Because even back then, there were rumors of him doing all that stuff. What can I say?
Well, Mo, give me a thought.
I don't know. I mean, it's like, what does he do now? Like, he's not a millionaire. He's not gonna just like retire or something. Like does he go to work at like his local Starbucks or something? Like, I don't get it. Like, what does he do now for work? Like,
a guy in his 50s working at Starbucks. He's like,
like, what is he gonna do?
Well, I think he's going to turn to God. That was one of his things, and he had a big thing about his Christian faith, so I'm guessing he's going back to the church. That was one of his things in the 80s. He was like, what, part of a Christian troop or something like that,
well,
and acting and stuff like that. And even then, supposedly they said they had the same story, so it's like a continual behavior. You know what I mean?
Where
you don't just
welcome him with open arms.
Well, as we said, this I get it. This is now a fairly old story, although the talk kind of continued. The talk and sometimes the vicious talk still continues.
He's banned from AN, by the way.
He's now been banned from Anime North?
I think he was banned for a while, but don't quote me on that.
I had no idea about that.
What was the last time he was there?
Well,
it's been a few years since he's been.
If I'm to make a guess, it's dog. Let's just say the list has gotten longer.
It's weird because we were talking. It's like I'm not sure it was in the episode or off air, but it was one in con in Arizona, and they had like a code red for whenever he went in a room because of one of the girls. I guess obviously had a bad experience and stuff like that. But I would have thought you would have banned someone at that point. Like, you know what I mean? That's why when you say ban, it's like most of, as we talked about, it's like I guess they want the people in the seats, right? As the saying goes,
as the saying, as the popular poets, the Wu-Tang Clan once said, "Cash rules everything around me. Get the money, dollar bill, y'all." So,
yep.
Well, because now, as I said, he's not good business anymore. No, right? He was before. He was good business.
Now, here's a question: do we retroactively have to redub everything he's ever done?
No.
Well, we have to take the Simpsons approach. Get rid of all the anime.
This isn't Japan where they have to literally erase the person's existence like they're doing with the Denki Groove guy. And,
you're saying we'll never get judgmentized because of one dude doing cocaine? God damn it.
Okay, so let's say...
No, they'll just redraw the character like they did with that Yakuza guy.
But you heard that about Sega and stuff like that. Like, they're now questioning that June release for Judgment Eyes.
Olaf's a pot smoker now.
Yeah, I know, because he played Olaf in the Japanese version of Frozen and Kingdom Hearts 3.
So. Not Olaf from League of Legends.
Well, I mean, on that topic.
But yeah, they do something in Japan, as they said they are banned for life. Basically, it's a death sentence.
Well, The Simpsons has pulled that episode with Michael Jackson. Yes, that's happened. The WWE for a long time pretty much disavowed any knowledge of Chris Benoit after he murdered his entire family.
But they're still going to Saudi Arabia.
Just saying.
Wait, so who's going to Saudi Arabia?
Didn't you know that they were the WWE and all that? They've already done, but they've been having big events in Saudi Arabia, and people were questioning that, and they're still doing stuff like that in there.
Mm-hmm. What's the issue? I don't understand.
Just because of its conservative society. So.
Oh, okay.
But
and the new Crown Princes we've been talking about and stuff like that. If you follow the news, you'll know. That's the big issue and stuff like that.
But okay,
that he's trying to be open to the West, but in reality, he's a completely different type of thing in his ties, of course, Donald Trump and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, that's another. But that's another discussion, you know.
Yeah,
but that's a lot to talk about. So we talk about that. Remember when we talked about Suki and Kenshin on the topic of Kenshin?
Oh, that pedophile, yes.
Yes.
But from one pedophile to another.
But you remember?
But isn't he? He's back basically in Japan, but it seems like he's basically too toxic that they're not putting him in the simul publishing thing with Viz. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Viz decided to take the high road, which I don't blame them for.
No, it makes total sense, but it's interesting in Japan that given how toxic people can be and they just ban them for whatever, it seems interesting that they brought him back. But I can't remember. It feels like he definitely did get the slap on the wrist.
It was only a slap on the wrist. Like I said in episodes past, there was a similar incident with Mitsutoshi Shimabukuro, the creator of Toriko, and that ended up just being a slap on the wrist. And I think he wasn't being published for a while too, but then, hey, Toriko made money, so it's not like they had to pull that out.
Mm-hmm. So, and the thing is, remember, I think and Neil had that little rant if you've listened to past episodes about when we talked in those terms. So,
and what isn't Japan? Actually, how do I put this? That's always kind of been in the background for years and years and years.
This type of behaviors like this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe in a lot of show business, for all I know.
Well, even just in their history, no.
Well, the other thing is, remember, they've always been.
I mean, I wouldn't deny. I'm not going to say emphatically no. Entirely possible. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
It's just the thought of it's like even in recent history when the World Cup came to South Korea, Japan, they did that cleanup and stuff like that. And now we hear about it all over again with the 2020 Olympics and stuff like that, where they're supposedly cleaning up that stuff at the bottom layer that most people would not even think about or know about.
Like the seedy sides of societies?
Yeah, stuff? Just like we know about this stuff, about the seedy manga and all this other stuff, like in vending machines and in konbinis and stuff like that. But obviously, no person goes into a konbini and sees something, they're like, what the heck's going on here?
Oh, yeah, well. I guess they do want to make themselves look good for the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, it worked out for them for the World Cup, I guess. So it'll work out for 2020.
And then I guess they have to reset.
The only problem is, will they be able to avoid the disaster that is Akira? We know it's going to happen.
Oh my God!
I knew.
Why did the International Olympic Committee give them the Olympics?
You were going to bring that up.
Well said.
What?
Well said.
What?
The whole because Akira takes place in the shadows of
the Olympics.
After the Olympics.
Oh, shit, that's right.
That's well said. Well said. Damn, that I did not think of that one. Well done. Well done, Austin.
Oh wow, that's good.
That's good.
One.
That is awesome. Almost as awesome as.
Trust me, that's probably going to be said forever. It's like that should just be their opening ceremonies or closing ceremonies. Just put it in there somewhere, and then they get rid of the infrastructure. Is just destroyed.
Which isn't outside the realm of possibilities, if only because they used Mario at the closing ceremonies.
That's true.
For in Rio, so
that big explosion is going to happen, and all you'll see is Mario's dead corpse.
Well, which is really Shinjo Abe dressed as Mario.
So going back to Vic. Okay, so what about his Vic M's? I'm not gonna try. Vic's past works. Disavow?
That's a tough question.
I mean, Kevin Spacey you can't really get rid of in that sense.
It's like, why?
I don't think you do that at all. It's I think given the
R.
business
Kelly had
and all
nice,
that.
I mean, there was R. Kelly had a couple hits.
I think
they're going to stay in the psyche forever, probably.
But most people, I think, are just going to let sleeping dogs lie. Like all the current things, they agree. They're like, okay, he shouldn't be on them. But there are so many things he's done, whether it be bit parts or main parts, that life will just continue on like most things.
Or maybe it's
or maybe they'll just switch to the subtitle track like most people say they do.
Or maybe if there's another re-release, does he get any further royalties from those?
Well, there are no royalties in anime. No one's doing that.
Then there's nothing else. Then maybe that ends the discussion in and of itself.
Because they're all contract workers, as we talked about. And we talked about his things as like, obviously, most people are like, oh, why couldn't they do this? And most of them are contract workers. They got to keep on doing that next contract because that's what it is in the voice acting. It's like an interview every single day.
Yeah, so, I mean, but that's what it is. But then I guess that ends the discussion. Really, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Some things history, and not many people are going to keep up with this history years from now. Let's be honest. This is a juicy story from our standpoint because it's something to talk about. But when we look back on him some years down the road, when the controversy, like all the shock of this whole thing is washed over, and we just have, the works in place, and like how much, like the controversies surrounding Vic's personal conduct will probably be a talking point, but it's just that's all it would be. Nothing big beyond that.
Yeah, most people, I think, will just remember him for that, and then, of course, Full Metal Alchemist. So that's, I think, the biggest thing that will be forever long-lasting, you know what I mean? Because it's not as much now that you have those evergreen titles or those performances that people remember. It's like always on to the new thing, on to, like, dispose of this. I'm going into the next thing in my queue, in my streaming queue, right?
Yep.
Well, we'll talk about streaming queues later. Okay. But yeah, that's just it, I guess, with Vic. Right. That's
I think,
as I said, now we can officially end our cycle, our news cycle, our discussion cycle with that. Let's move on. Or is there one thing you want to say before we do? You look like you want to. You look like you want to.
No, it's just like, can we just stop talking about pedophiles?
Yes.
when they're no longer in the news.
When HBO stops making documentaries exposing things we already knew about.
When they stop existing, I guess.
Okay, so let's change paces. Let's change pace a little bit. All four of us have seen the Battle Angel movie. Like, I mean, we were on the topic of adaptations.
I have not.
You have not?
I have not. What? I don't go to the theater as much anymore. Like, if I go a few times a year, and it's because of ticket prices, and
and it has to be something that really grabs your attention.
But a lot of the time, I'll see it way later on, whether it be buying it for a digital rental or like a Blu-ray or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as much a thing.
I saw it twice.
I saw it twice too. If I had known you hadn't seen it, we would have gone before this taping.
Well, we could have made that short. We could have made that short. We could have made
that. So are you okay in tune to spoilers?
I've read the manga, so I don't think you can spoil much.
They go completely different from the manga. The ending of this movie is ridiculous. So what happens is it's all a dream, right?
Do the eyes get even bigger?
Yes.
Well, the eyes get bigger. Okay.
No, and
transforms into the manga. I guess.
And Gallia was a white woman all this time.
The entire time.
Okay, so. Well, let's see. Okay, so three of us have it, and we have a good, and James has a good sense of what the story is. And anybody familiar with, Gundam, Alita, Battle Angel, whatever.
It's called Alita, Battle Angel.
Thank you. Well done. You say that in your say that in an announcer voice.
Alita, Battle Angel.
That just makes me think
first time was better. First time was.
I always just call it Battle Angel Alita just because I'm used.
It's a lot easier to just call it Battle Angel. You're right.
Yeah, for amongst us.
That just makes me think of Matt Devlin when he's doing the Raptors games and they have some of those movies and he says it in the announcer voice and it just, oh my goodness. And he was doing that for Battle Angel a few weeks ago. It was kind of just like.
That Matt Devlin, the TV voice of the Toronto Raptors. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll get my own impression of it was I liked it, but I mean, first of all, I saw this in like movie theaters have been kind of experimenting with their with their technologies and how in the movie experience, how a theater goer or movie goer would be experiencing these things.
Were you going VIP?
No, I didn't go VIP. Didn't go 3D. Didn't go IMAX this time. But they tried to. But there's a relatively new experimental one, which is really not as revolutionary as the others, but they've been experimenting with it. They've been experimenting with a technology called Screen X.
Oh, this. I thought you were going to go with this route.
You thought I was going to go Screen X?
I saw the BTS concert from South Korea on Screen X.
What? Okay. All right, I'll give my impression. Let me give an impression about the way I saw that, and then you give me your impression about a concert on Screen X.
Okay.
It's just it sounded first of all it's as cool as the idea is. It's just essentially they projected the image also onto the sidewalls as well, on the sidewalls both sides. Yeah, so in fairly panoramic scenes, you'd see details on like all the basically. On 270 degrees around. Think of what you see if you're an Overwatch League fan, and basically what you see in the Blizzard Arena. That's Screen X, basically. So, and it had a nice feel to it, but it felt a little cheesy at times. To me, it felt a little cheesy. It felt a little bit of a, this is a retrofit for theaters that can't accommodate 3D or IMAX. That's what it felt like to me. It just felt like something that, it just felt like something that older theaters could utilize, or theaters that are under-equipped could utilize. That's the feeling I get. That all said, it didn't detract from the experience. Didn't add the greatest amount either. So I didn't find it off-putting in any way, really. But I didn't find it mind-blowing.
So they
either.
used all 3 screens, I take it.
Well, I mean, there was never really a screen on those walls, but obviously they're painted enough, that it could hold the image.
Right. So it's like 3 projectors, I think.
Yes.
Right.
Projectors on the corners coming down, basically. Yeah.
So did they just stretch the? It's just super stretched.
Yeah,
is that what it is?
It's not really
literally all it is.
Well, a super stretch or just adding details.
Right. It's like extra wide.
Yeah,
screen,
extra wide screen.
Right. So instead of like having like a regular widescreen, you just like expand that wider.
It's like using the pan. Like it's like using a pan lens, a real pan lens.
Because for BTS, they didn't utilize it all that well, and half the time they were just showing random stills or clips of the concert while the main performance would be on the center screen.
Okay,
maybe
it feels like standard def. It feels like a standard def thing,
right?
It feels like
for us, it was like not the entire movie was in the whole 3-screen nonsense. Some of it was just the regular 1 screen, but screens where it's like immersive, like the motorball games where it's all like high motion and so forth.
Action scenes, or like panoramic scenes.
Oh, you saw in Screen X as well, then?
Oh yeah, I saw it in IMAX and in Screen X.
So
I went IMAX and then I went regular screening.
Okay.
So
go back to BTS.
So BTS, like, it really didn't use those other 2 screens. So I thought, man, I just spent. Okay, to be honest, I didn't purposely go for the Screen X. It was because it was the screening that was convenient for my friends and I. And it was also the only theater screening it near us.
Okay.
For the time, for the day we wanted to go.
But in some ways, you paid the price, paid a little bit more for it, all right?
Yes.
So
the concert itself was good because they're excellent performers, but yeah, I thought the extra few bucks was not worth it.
Okay.
For that concert.
On a side tangent, what's your take on the whole the Big Bang controversy?
Oh, the Sungri. Oh God, yeah.
Apparently, Mr. Playboy or something. I don't know, like all those processes.
His club had a little more going
Mr.
on.
Pimp, yeah. It's sad. It really is. I wasn't really a fan of Big Bang anyway, because they're a Gen 2 K-pop group, and that was when all of my friends except for myself was into K-pop, because I was just stubbornly refusing to listen to K-pop at that time. But that I was reading how everything was unfolding, and I thought, man, that's just depressing for for the victims.
Yeah.
And just seeing it just devolve into this gigantic mess was like, wow. It's sad. It's just sad. Very sad.
They kept ask a little bit more about this later on.
They kept talking about his military service and how he has mandatory military service. What's the military service like in Korea? Like, what's that?
Mandatory. Because remember, they're still at war.
That's true. But when does it start? Like when 18, 16?
It just I think it sounds like it just happens.
They have to serve by a specific age, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's probably similar to Israel and those other countries that have mandatory service where it's like their early 20s.
How long is the service?
Oh, I don't recall, to be honest.
I mean, that's part of the story. Like, and
some of them are sent obviously to the border and stuff like that, and they just watch over.
Now that you bring it up, that we're watching Overwatch League, and any Overwatch League fan would kind of know the story of the Vancouver Titans and their former team, the team they used to play for, Runaway, because its head was forced into military service, and his wife took over the team, or his girlfriend who took over the team took over Runaway as manager, and she was the one who steered them to towards those championships in Contenders Korea, and then right after they won their championships, they got picked up by Vancouver.
So Google says that you have to serve at least 21 months between the ages of 18 and 35.
So they have a longer
in a row, or just have it all done before
I'm assuming I'm assuming it's consecutive months.
So in a row.
So that's a lot longer than
almost 2 years. A year and 9 months.
Yeah, some of the European countries and the other ones, that seems a lot longer than them, because usually you hear about it in the early 20s and stuff like that. Sometimes they'll give you like more time if you're going to university, and then you have to do it afterwards. You know what I mean?
Right.
For military service.
All right, so finish up that thought, and then we'll get back to Battle Angel.
I think Sungri was trying to get into the military to try and escape this. I could be wrong on that, but then didn't make it, obviously, and now he is facing his punishment, and he left Big Bang.
Yeah, he wrote that whole thing, how he apologized, honor, and so forth.
And then he say like
retirement. He called it retirement.
He called it retirement, but he also said he was going to prove his innocence and all this other nonsense.
Right.
Like he said, it's like everyone will see my. It's like I know I'm not. I have to do all this, but I'm still innocent.
The retirement part just got me. He's like what, 21, 20?
No, he's a lot older than that. I think.
How old is he?
Yeah, he's older.
He's a lot older because Big Bang's been around for quite a while. But what does Wikipedia say?
Okay, we'll look him up.
Singri, the former member.
Yeah, just look under past members. He's 28.
Right.
Yeah,
all right.
Still young, but I guess just like the Overwatch, it's like they have their timestamp, huh?
Yeah, everyone has their time. Everyone has their
for
time
esports.
Stamps. Well, even in the pop world too.
In K-pop especially.
Mm-hmm.
What's the 28 is? I'm guessing is now becoming ancient.
Yes, in K-pop that's considered pretty old. So the guy groups can usually push past that,
but not much more. They can.
Just like
the
JoJo's.
It depends on It depends on how huge the fan base is.
Mm-hmm. Forever youthful.
So that all said, BTS probably could get into their 30s.
It's possible.
They could be the Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
So the army is strong, as they say.
Join the Navy.
Okay,
Battle Angel.
Let's back to Battle Angel for a second. Okay, so the movie itself, it's a familiar plot, especially if you're familiar with the OAV. I mean, from my standpoint, and
the manga as well.
In the manga, of course,
and it's a very 90s. It's a very different experience than what you're probably used to in movies right now, because it's a very 90s, early 90s type of story. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, but
so it's a fresh air for some people, I guess.
I mean, the thing about it was, I will say I liked it, but there's a lot of buts to this, and sometimes I have trouble putting it into words. Like we know the story about its production because it's very tied into Avatar and James Cameron, and so there's this part of me wondering: is this at least 5 years too late? And we can answer that in a second. A lot of people criticized it for lack of plot. It looks nicely stylized and stuff, but it lacked plot. But then I was already familiar, but in many ways, many of us were familiar with the plot. I had no real issue with it, but maybe because I knew what to expect in that sense. So which part do you want to give a comment on?
I'm trying to remember from reading the manga because I haven't read it in years. But
see my memory of the OAV, and that's the only, and I admit that's the only thing I've seen.
Because I don't remember.
Pretty blurry.
I don't remember if Alita always wanted to go to Tefaris or not. Like I know eventually she had a reason to go, but I don't remember if that was stated outright from the beginning of the story. So in that sense, if that was the case, it's just like the manga. I don't know though, because I haven't read Alita in years.
Neither, yeah. I mean, I'd love to give it a look. See now,
yeah.
But
it's
then
back
again,
in print,
there's a lot of course.
Yeah.
But now there's a bunch of other things in the queue. We'll talk about that later. Well, you have a thought? None?
Not really.
Not really. I mean, either side of the discussion, like the production discussion.
The movie was good, production wise. I mean, you're right. There's nothing revolutionary about this.
That's, I guess,
it's nice. It's very pretty. The CGI was very nice.
And the way they mixed it into the live action.
Exactly. I mean, but aside from that, I mean, I feel like this isn't, like you said, it's a 5 years too late kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, were we expected to be? But obviously, it wasn't billed to be mind blowing in that sense. But something tells me on the heels, on the immediate heels of Avatar, almost 10 years ago, and
sort of big 5 years ago,
I think we had been waiting for this, and so I think this was a no-win situation, regardless to me in that sense.
It's obviously setting up multiple other movies, right? I mean, the way the movie ends, I don't want to spoil it, but like, it's not a complete ending. It's like, hey, to come.
There's more to come if that's allowed,
right? And it's making boatloads of money overseas, so I'm assuming
not as much.
No.
Well, here, I don't know.
China helped a lot.
Because that's the biggest box office now is China, and that's where a lot of them are going to.
Absolutely.
But the other question is, even if we feel the failures and stuff like that, it's still probably the best adaptation of a Japanese property, of a manga and something like that we've probably seen.
Yep. But
since Speed Racer?
I would say that's an accurate compliment and stuff like that. It's no Dragon Ball.
No.
Let's put it that way.
Well, I guess that's true. Not you're putting those.
What about Death Note? Death Note was.
That feels like a low bar. What about what?
I'm sorry, what?
What about...
Let's just put it this way. We expect more from Rodriguez and Cameron. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I suppose. That's a fair statement as well.
That is a fair statement, yeah.
Oh, but, I'll admit, I never...
to get those two, that's an incredible catch for those Japanese...
See, if Ghost in the Shell had James Cameron in a $200 million budget, I think we would have gotten something a little bit better than what we have.
I completely forgot that movie existed until you mentioned it just right now, and now
they said they were okay with the casting. The Japanese side said they were okay with the casting.
And do we have to hold you back from attacking him?
Well, yes, because I'd completely forgotten about it.
You just wiped it, huh?
No, it's one of those type of movies where, like, if it had been worse, like a terrible movie, I would have remembered it more. It wasn't a good movie either, so I just forgot about it.
It was a mediocre movie then.
Yes, exactly.
Which means it's forgettable for...
So forgettable.
Like, there's that old... it's like somebody brought up Showgirls. It was so bad it was memorable.
The movie? Yeah, exactly. Yes.
It was so bad it was memorable.
Absolutely.
For that reason.
Or The Room.
Yeah, The Room. Yeah, everyone knows.
Yeah, I think people... that's been a phrase I've heard lately. I mean, a movie being so bad it was good, right? It was good because it was so bad. I don't know. It's just I mean, it just feels like if this is the best adaptation yet for North American audiences, it feels like the bar is a little low.
Oh yeah,
for me. But then again, maybe that's, for all I know, that could be unfair, because being the types of fans we all are. I mean, we have high expectations.
That's true.
And you have to transliterate basically that type of work into a work that is more global and probably for our audience.
Once again, coming back to that discussion we had back in the fall about live action movies, about live actioning an established Japanese property on the heels of the Bleach movie.
Yep. And we were talking about that off air about Your Name and stuff like that, because they had preliminary stuff on that and how they would make that for future.
Let me go there for a second. Let's go to Your Name for a second, because they announced that, I think his name is Mark Webb.
Yep.
Mark Webb will be the director of the live action Western take on Your Name, which is being produced by J.J. Abrams, among others.
Mm-hmm.
And Webb. The three titles that stick out to me are 500 Days of Summer, The Amazing Spider-Man 1, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So the Andrew Garfield versions.
Emo one.
Isn't that why The Last Man Creator also involved with the script?
I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
Maybe.
Probably.
Brian K. Vaughan, that's his name. Okay.
So... But like I say, but like I mentioned to you guys earlier, in baseball, if you're batting .333, you're doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
500, I can't win them all. And I remember, and memory serves me right, at least 500 days was pretty good.
It's a good movie.
And some of it is the long run. They get those physical media sales and probably the streaming and stuff like that. So some of them play the long game.
So and the producers and the Japanese holders approved of this choice.
Yeah, comics and stuff like that.
They approved of this choice.
It's a good story. It can easily be
they
told.
and they have no problems localizing. And they apparently there are no issues with them localizing it to it.
Yeah, they said they wanted to see Hollywood's take. I think is kind of what they said.
I'm not opposed to it either.
Mm-hmm. I'm not totally like. I guess with this whole talk about like, after Crazy Rich Asians and the lack of Asian starring roles. So that's one part of the discussion. The other is interpretation is always is sometimes fascinating too. I mean, Richard Gere has been in on at least 2 adaptations of famous Japanese movies. He did a take on Shall We Dance in the aughts. More than 15, roughly 15 years ago.
That was based off of an Asian work.
Yep, that was.
Shall We Dance was a Japanese movie back in the 90s, and I think I have that on DVD here. Want to borrow it? So it was good. The other was he did a take on Hachiko.
It's like he's been away from the scene forever because of his stance on Tibet and stuff like that. Because China's become such a big player in the movie and making your money and stuff like that. So that's why Gary's been frozen out because he's very outspoken and he's a very good friend of the Dalai Lama.
Mm-hmm. So nice layer. Those takes were set like Shall We Dance was set in Chicago. His take, and then Hachiko was set in, I believe either Rhode Island or Connecticut, but somewhere in New England. So certainly not Tokyo.
It was interesting you said that because they said they were I think basically in Chicago for the Your Name thing, and that the main female would be Native American. They were looking for someone in that sphere, and I can't remember for the male lead what they were looking for. They never said ethnicity or anything like that.
No, but I think it's the male lead will be from Chicago, and the Native American woman is from rural, like
Illinois or just
rural Illinois or something like a rural.
Exactly.
So really,
as I said, I'm fascinated.
I guess that's fine.
I'm fascinated to see what they think matters from compared to the original version. I mean. Anybody who's listened to this show for years knows my take on every adaptation. Every adaptation holds if I'm able to get around to it, holds a degree of fascination because it tells me what whoever made those adaptations thought mattered to them. And then they expose that a little further. I mean, compared to the original work, right? I mean, I'm sure there was a degree of latitude in the Lord of the Rings stuff, quite a lot, a fair amount. I know they're having fun. I know they're playing around a little bit with Game of Thrones, and some of those details are very minute, but to fans, they're a discussion in and of itself.
But it depends. Like Game of Thrones, for example, like they're all tied together. The author himself and the production crew and stuff like that. They're so intertwined.
So maybe not the greatest
and that's not always the case and stuff. That's why everyone's looking for. It's like, okay, how are they going to end that? And maybe that's going to give the books the time to actually do something.
A better example would be like the whole Harry Potter thing and how that's all super.
Oh yeah, the world of wizardry or something like that. Yeah. Like I saw these movies and I didn't even realize they were like part of the Harry Potter universe or whatever, and all this like people to it, and I'm like,
Fantastic Beasts?
Yeah. So I mean, now I lost my spot a little bit.
I think we were talking about
the adaptations.
There you go.
But basically adaptations. But we were talking on American adaptations. Let me reverse field on you guys a little bit because another on the topic of appealing to overseas. But let's go the other way. You saw the whole Heritage Minute on the Vancouver Asahi baseball team recently, right? Okay, this was the I'll show this during the break, and maybe I'll touch on it just before we get into the second topic and the bullets. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll talk, but I do want to bring up an interesting point that this isn't just an American thing, a North American thing, a Western thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, but let me show you that moment. I'll tell you guys the story, and then we'll talk about and then after the break, we'll also talk a little bit more about. I know Kevin wants to put me on the spot about my feelings concerning Toradora, There's a bigger thing, but there's a bigger discussion in it for me later beyond that. And then what is it? And then we're going to go into the bullets. And then we'll do a quick bullet segment. And these bullets are all intertwined in many ways. It's the aftermath of something we've talked about before. Mm-hmm. Back in a moment. It's the Anime Roundtable on the Six Talk Podcast Network. Great, you just had to tell us you were sick a couple weeks ago. Well, yeah, we had to at least we put him on the furthest mic.
A couple weeks ago.
You want to, James? You want to ask him to shove over just a little bit more to his left? Okay, so podcast continues. Okay, so let's continue. Let me finish my thought. First of all, before I really get into the Vancouver stuff, the Vancouver Asahi stuff, you guys have a final thought on Battle Angel? I mean, it's not much of a discussion, I guess, but except to say, is it that good of a compared to other adaptations, a decent one?
I'd say so.
That good?
I'd say it's a pretty decent adaptation.
Oh yeah.
Like.
It's watchable. Certainly watchable from my standpoint.
They put too much. There wasn't as much focus on Motorball in the manga, I feel.
Oh, they put because that was a scene to say the least.
Because they needed to put some action elements to it, so they added that, and that's fine. Whatever. The romance was kind of lame, but I kind of felt the romance was kind of lame in the manga anyway. But the way, actually no, I was gonna spoil it, but
go for it.
You're not gonna watch it, right?
It's all good. Go for it.
He knows something.
Oh, you read it. So it's fine.
Go for
it.
Finish him.
You're going to spoil the audience anyway.
The time where when Hugo dies at the end of the film, when I saw that for the second time, I was actually laughing the whole time because I already knew what was gonna happen. And then
I think a lot of people laughed, even during the OAV.
And so I'm just like, oh, here it comes. And then my friends are like, what are you talking about? And then it's just when he just gets like sliced into pizzas, and I'm just laughing. And then my friends are just giving me the look. They're like, how do you find this funny? And it is funny though.
I feel like I'm missing something here, man.
No, it's just how. Forlorn he looked as he was slicing the pieces.
No, but even in the OAV, when that was my memory of the OAV when that scene exact same scene happened. That scene happened. I mean, many of the same feelings were going through me.
And plus,
through Neil and Simon too.
And they preface this because he's going up the tube, and then 30 minutes ago they showed a flashback scene. With the exact same scenario where a lot of her crew was killed by that tube with the spikes,
and then here come the spikes.
So it's like not any person, but you could have put two and two together anyway.
Well, I mean, yeah, his death was predetermined. I mean, there's no way once he died the first time, he's definitely gonna die the second time. That was predetermined. But I mean, I just feel like, could have done better.
No, some of my friends thought, oh, so he's now alive, and then they're gonna finally live happily ever. I'm like,
what?
And I'm like, okay, there.
Have they not been watching the movie? What are you talking about? His character is unredeemable. Come on.
Yeah. Because you think that, oh yeah, people are used to couples, staying together at the end.
It's romantic comedy syndrome.
Yeah, and so no, it did not happen.
No.
Well, let's get real. Like Game of Thrones real.
And I they put a little too much emphasis on the romance as well, which
you thought
made no sense. Come on.
It was kind of weak in that sense,
and maybe that's part of the letdown of it too. Maybe that's part of the. Certainly, I can see that as a letdown point.
I like the motorball. Motorball in general should have been the main focus. But I didn't quite understand at the end where she becomes the champion of motorball in order to win a ticket to the Cloud City. Why? Why?
Oh, I forgot the reason why. They do explain it in the manga.
Because I feel like if the reason is for her to get to the Cloud City, and to get to the Cloud City, you need to win motorball all the time, and Cloud City people don't want her up there for whatever reason, then why not just kill her or something? I don't know.
Well, no one's allowed to go up there otherwise.
Right.
And
I mean, I feel like if I'm that dude, Ed Norton, sitting on top of the clouds, and I get to let people up for whatever dumb reason, I should be able to write a new rule, being, hey, that person who might kill me, you're not allowed up here. I mean, right?
Good way to put it.
Destiny Nova is just a whack job. He has his weird. I actually don't remember why, but he's just a weirdo. He's a total weirdo.
We'll find out in the sequel.
We'll find out in the sequels.
The sequel, that's not going to happen.
It's going to happen, man.
Or read the manga.
No, Disney needs to actually create like.
This wasn't Disney.
It will be Disney.
Oh, that's right. We're talking Fox.
Oh, that's right. I keep on forgetting that Fox. Yeah, so it's
right.
Fox
Coming
because
soon.
Fox.
Coming soon.
Never
Disney owns everyone.
Yeah,
never see
it will be Disney. So
if anything, this will be like an animated series going to put on like their streaming service.
It's arguably broken even. Like the absolute max that people think that this movie would have costed when you factor in the marketing is $500 million.
Yep.
It's made around $400 million.
It's almost
worldwide. There. So it could have been possible, but I think with Disney involved, I don't think so.
I mean, do you guys remember that? Yeah, true. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, Vancouver Asahi. Okay, I explained. I showed them the Heritage Moment video to the others to briefly tell the story. Well, we'll put it up in the show notes. The Vancouver Asahi were a local baseball team in Vancouver of Japanese Canadians in the pre World War II era. So in the early
Roaring 40s,
the Roaring 40s, in the early 40s, they were a good team. They won their share of championships in the city in the area. Then the war happened.
Well, the war, it was still happening. It's just they hadn't declared war on Japan yet.
Yeah,
because Pearl Harbor and all that.
Yeah,
that's
and
where
then in 42, many of them, since they were Japanese Canadians, they got interred, and that was it basically for them. They never played another game. The Vancouver Asahi, a few years ago, I forgot exactly when they were inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
St. Mary's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And into Heritage Moment, it'll depict one member of that team, Kei Kamanishi, and he is the surviving member of that group. Everybody else has long since passed on. Where I want to go on the reverse of that was that story has been told in Japan. It was made into a major motion picture in 2014, and therein lies maybe the dilemma. This was a very Canadian story. Oh.
No, I remember when that movie was screening here, but I couldn't make it.
Okay, but you knew of the movie.
I know of the movie, yes.
Well, here is the dilemma. Here is the reverse dilemma that I want to bring up. How do you market this to Japan? They want to tell this story to the Japanese. The members of this Asahi were very much Canadian. They were Japanese Canadian. So they were Nisei, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the one story. I forget who it was, because remember, once the war ended, unlike the U.S., we were even worse. We sent a lot of the Japanese back to Japan, but remember, they were Canadians. Mm-hmm. And some of them, like there was one lady, I remember, she's like went back and then she had to come back as an immigrant, even though she was technically Canadian. Stuff like
she was made into a CBC movie?
Yep. That was the one. And she sang King. She went back, you know what I mean? But
I have friends who've interacted with her before she passed
and how much
away.
she loved Canada and stuff like that. But that was a crazy story. That was...
Yes. And the thing was, by and large, many of them didn't speak Japanese all that well.
Yeah, like they spoke English. They didn't really have the language. So think about that. That's like even worse than what we did on top of that, which was the internment case.
Yeah. So going back to the production of this Japanese feature
of a Canadian
Japanese team, of a Canadian team, you know, how do you pull off playing characters who are really Canadians? Mm-hmm. But you have to relate it to a Japanese audience. So they got well-known and of course marketed to a Japanese audience. So a lot of well-known Japanese actors were in the main roles. Not much in the way of Canadians or, you know, Asian other Asians who spoke English. But you had to tell the story to Japan.
Mm-hmm. So and that probably hadn't been to Canada really and stuff like that. And interacted with Canadians, you know. Mm-hmm.
So you know, and that I know, and at the time, and I guess we'll put up one or two articles. That was part of that dilemma too. But just so this whole how to adapt something from one place to another, and how to have it properly translated. It is a very universal dilemma when you really think about it.
So how did that movie do that?
I think it did fine. Mm-hmm. I have to look it up a little more. And yes, there is, and we'll put up the heritage moment. I know that the CFB, the Canadian Film Board, did a long form documentary about it. So maybe we'll put the link to that as well. But it is a fascinating story, and and the internment camp thing. If you keep up with the Japanese Canadian community here, that's always on the mind. So you'll be exposed to that discussion. Sorry, Kevin.
I remember that screening sold out.
Yeah,
when they played that at the JCCC. Mm-hmm. I think it was during the film fest that they run every
during
June.
The Japanese. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah,
okay, the one, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, we'll put those links up there. All right, now to lighten it up a little bit. I mentioned to you guys a couple weeks ago when we were talking during the digest
as well. We were talking about like Toradora.
Well, we were talking about what we were still watching on anime wise, and yes, I finished up Toradora finally. Mm-hmm. Like the thing is,
good man,
huh?
Good man.
Well, the thing is, I mean, as I said, I hadn't really kept up. Like there was a point, and this is why when the show when version 1 ended, that because some let's say tough thing. Let's call it life-changing items.
Life happened.
Yeah, life happened. Items. But I really didn't keep up with the anime world. So Toradora ended up being quite a surprise for me, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Kevin, I give you credit because when I told you I was watching it, and you just said to me, or do you remember what you said to me?
That it was going to get better later on.
Yeah, you warned me that that there'll be an interesting turn in the latter part of the series, and yes, that was quite the turn, and I was pleasantly surprised with how deep it eventually got. But it's kind of amazing what you end up deciding to stumble on, because you just ended up seeing a live action performance of its ending theme sung by somebody who played a secondary character. Well, I wouldn't call Kawashima Minoran minor really, but she wasn't the main character. But as I said, I thought after watching watching Yui Horie do Vanilla Assault live to a crowd in Shanghai.
Yeah, that was one of her big roles. She was doing tons of roles back then. Yeah, well, the Tsundere type.
Well, yeah, it was the bookend actually of quite the decade for her, I'm sure, because it started.
Shauna, you had that. It's like goes on.
It started with Love Hina, Fruits Basket, and then.
Yeah, she's big in Shauna because she is Shauna, even though that franchise petered out at the very end. Mm-hmm.
So another light novel.
Familiar with Zero.
Yep, another light novel. She did quite a few.
Yeah,
were from light novel.
But she was the queen of the lolly tsundere. Wait, tell me. No, wait, no. No, I'm thinking of Ryukugimiya for Shauna. Whoops.
Wrong. Okay.
Oh, I was thinking Shauna too. It sounded like something she would do.
That's Ryukugimiya.
Yeah, you're right. Well, it's weird because you would think that would be something similar she might do. You know what I mean?
Because I was going to say she was Alphonse as well, but then that's because Ryukugimiya is Alphonse. And I'm like, wait, that's not Yui Horie.
Anyway, so we'll continue. But as I said, I stumbled on it and decided, okay, when I got my Crunchyroll membership and I saw it was there, okay, let's watch that. And so I was quite a bit surprised. And then I learned a little bit more that it had quite the fan base. It had quite the fan base from its time.
Yeah, no.
It's why the light novels are actually coming out after all this time.
And let's go.
They got the manga, but it was a long run. But now it's healthy enough that they can bring them out, and they're bringing them out in single volumes.
Yes. On that note, and let's go there.
It's a longer series.
Let's go there for a couple minutes. Let's go there for just a little bit. Yes, because of that, there was a bunch of sales at Indigo. Buy two get one free. For their manga, and I found out pleasantly that it applied to related light novels.
Yeah, a lot of the light novels from the manga publishers, for a lot of the manga deals or publisher deals, they're usually giving them the same deal a lot of the time. Yeah, so you usually luck out.
Yeah,
because they put the light novels now basically with the manga section. Basically, they're put with the manga section.
Yes. So it had me thinking about that, and for reference,
I don't really agree with, but
I don't agree, but I understand why.
I understand.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I think we're going to get to a bit of that in the next.
But it's not universal because, for example, the sci-fi line from Viz, they're usually put in the science fiction, like Legend of the Galactic Heroes is put in the sci-fi section, which is always interesting.
Those are real.
Those are novels.
Though.
Yeah,
those are novels.
But that isn't always the case for some of the prose ones, because some of the vertical ones that I feel are more prose do end up in the manga section for the older.
Like what?
Oh, what was it? It's like that one they released in May. It was girls. It's like high school girls, and they were. What was they called? I have to find it again, but. It was in May of last year, and that was only a single volume. But it's not always, because some of the vertical ones, as you said, they were in different things like Spiral and all those other prose novels. Okay. But it's not always the case.
Yeah. Bottom line for me is I ended up, because of the sale, I either ordered or pre-ordered everything that's known to have a release date. So
that's what everyone does because they're below American price. And
yeah, I mean when it's all said and done, and we talked about Kindle
pricing.
pricing.
Enjoyed the anime and stuff like that, so I think you'll get even more enjoyment.
And we talked about Kindle pricing. We talked about ebook pricing, Kindle pricing back then, 2 weeks ago. The price has actually gone down on the Kindle versions of the light novels, so they're now $10.
And they do have, and I think they do have sales on those electronic versions too. Sometimes
and for now,
the manga
it probably is a sale. In any event, because of the Indigo sale, when it comes down, when you break it down, it's probably roughly $10 too, maybe a little more, a couple cents more. So that made the call kind of easy. But it did have me thinking a little bit about, okay, well, light novels. You said, well, they're finally bringing them out because the Toradora novels are at least 10 years old, right?
Yeah. And I think it was one of the ones that Seven Seas we talked about had in their back pocket, like Vamp and all these other ones. They only got out Strawberry Panic and Boogie Pop and Wicked City. Those were the only ones they got out and really got out fully. The other ones, they said, okay, we're going to do it. They never even got them out because the market just wasn't there a decade ago.
Like Zero no Tsukaima. I think they had that Zero no Tsukaima license really early on.
Yeah, they might have had that too. The one thing, though, is then you had Tokyo. They were like Yen Press a few years ago when they went all in, and they had the great titles like Go Sick, 12 Kingdoms, Full Metal Panic, and so on and so forth, and Kino's Journey. But I guess they just couldn't get a wave or not enough business, and then it just never happened.
And
whereas now they have that business, and it must be good enough. Now, as I told you with that, Mike, Yen Press is about 3 novels a year.
For a title.
And that seems okay. It's like you're not putting too much investment. It seems like with these ones for Seven Seas now, they're also doing J-mangas, physical versions. J-manga is like a digital one of light novels. And they've been doing all right, just digital only, but their physical ones are through Seven Seas. But Seven Seas seems to be more aggressive, like every quarter. So which is interesting. Yes. So, and they seem to be okay so far. Because, like they have a big window.
4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Actually, 4 just came out in February of Toradora. Volume 8 is set for Christmas Eve at this stage, if you're to believe the Indigo site.
Yeah, but a lot of them, and that's a lot of translating because this is a lot of prose you got to go for, even if it's a light novel and stuff like that. So that's why I think the 3 a year is probably a good thing. And for longer series, that's probably hard to stomach, you know what I mean? Because it'll take them forever.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you have to kind of choose wisely because then you're going in for a marathon that you may not be able to finish.
Yeah, for example, the ones...
Like Bleach or Dragon Ball.
Well, in the light novel world,
the manga side too.
Light novel world, it's like I've been choosing wisely. Like the new one I'm gonna get, and I actually got it in the sale as a pre-order, was Restaurant to Another World. That's only 4 volumes, so they already have 3 volumes up for pre-order. So it's gonna be a quick one. It already has an anime up on Crunchyroll if you want to sample that, Mike. So. Restaurant to Another World is on Crunchyroll as the anime. It was based on a light novel. It's a really great one, and it's like just all these other worlders coming to our world in Tokyo, sampling our food, and they're just like, oh my god, this is great food and stuff like that. But it's an interesting fluff story that I enjoy. It's like, it's not heavy plot, but it's an enjoyable story. You do it for the characters. You know what I mean? Very character.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, considering I was the type who really enjoyed Tokyo, who enjoyed Midnight Diner, so.
And then the other ones, I would say, like I'm getting now was Tanya the Evil. That's 9 volumes, and they're already going to be up to 6 soon. Oh, he's coughing. He's going to kill us. That's Kevin.
Quarantine. He at least it's away from you.
Anyway, but yeah, no, Tanya the Evil, it's like basically guy in Tokyo, businessman in HR, but he's complete asshole who basically the first thing he does is he fires this guy. This guy has a family and stuff like that. So what does he do? He's very sad. He pushes him into an oncoming train, killed. Isekai story. It basically sees God and he's like, I don't give a fuck. It's like, I don't believe in you and all this stuff. And he's like, what's wrong with you modern people not believing in God and all this stuff? So basically he sends him to this World War I era Germany that's not Germany as a little girl and basically saying, good luck trying to survive. But in this world, they have a bit of magic. So he's basically in the trenches and all this stuff, trying to survive.
And Moh's mouth is dropped.
But basically, he doesn't believe he talks in like all this thing where it's like him still as a male guy in his 30s from Tokyo, knowing all this shit that is similar because it's very similar to our world. So he knows all these things.
I feel like you're hallucinating and this doesn't exist.
It does exist. Tanya the Evil.
What's it called?
Tanya the Evil. And it does have an anime on Crunchyroll as well. But it's like, it's a ride reading the light novel. And the movie just came out in Japan in February. And that is a continuation of the series. They haven't said anything for North America, but that'll be a good one because I don't want to say anything because then it would spoil, obviously, the series. But it's just interesting. It's a very heavy male cast other than Tanya, because that's what all the personnel and those guys are.
How many volumes are the light novel for this?
5 of them are out. I think 6 is the next one I'm getting. No, it's 4 out, I think, 11? And then 5 is coming up, and then it's 9 out in Japan. But it's going to catch up soon. That'll be a good one. The other ones I've been doing that I probably was a crazy person, but thank God they're finally caught up, is Toradora is going to finish up in July. That's from the author who did Bacano, and they're releasing Bacano as well. That's both of those are Yen Press, so is Tanya. Mm-hmm. But Bacano, I'm probably a crazy person for doing that because they're expensive because they're hardcover and they're doing them in single volumes, and they're up to 22 volumes in Japan. We're only up to, I think, 6 or 7. So I have a long road to go on that one.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're willing to run the marathon.
Well, I ran the marathon on Spice and Wolf. Spice and Wolf. Oh, I'm actually, it's caught up. It is caught up, really? Just to let you know. Spice and Wolf is caught up. Okay. But I've enjoyed all those. Another friend from Australia was in the same boat, and they're enjoying it too.
But I couldn't finish the novels.
I guess I still have to. I guess I have to be choosy.
But Spice and Wolf is more normal slice of life sort of thing. But a lot of them now are very isekai driven. It seems in
that seems to be the case.
Light novels.
That's what's in vogue nowadays.
Well, yeah.
The other thing though,
go ahead, finish your thought, and then I'll come back. I'll double back.
It's just the one thing I was telling you about is how they're more in vogue, of course, with the light novels. But the other thing is, and I'm thinking about because it's on Crunchyroll right now, Reincarnation of Slime, that one.
Oh, that time I got reincarnated
as a slime. Some of these novels, a lot of them, they start on the web. So they're amateurs on the web, and then they get picked up and stuff like that. And that's how that one got created. And it seems a few of them have come out, and they're through the isekai route as well. And it was interesting in the interview, the creator with the slime one, the reincarnation one, he said, I guess it wasn't till the end of the first volume, beginning of the second volume, where he really said he got the story and knew where he wanted to go. So it was kind of like a lot of them are just doing it for the heck of it, and then they kind of figure it out as they go along, and then they find that, I guess, drive, like he did.
You could say.
So it's like when he was in the cave and all this other stuff, nothing was happening, and then it's like, oh, him building the kingdom is what's going to be his drive. Not that he's OP as heck, even though he's a slime.
And you just illustrated, okay, there's an interest in like where we're getting at. Like going through all these titles. Yeah, the light novels are back again. It seemed to be like we're seeing a little bit more. And this is like 10 years after the first some of the most first noteworthy attempts. Haruhi's probably the one that sticks out in my head.
But it was, I feel like, a little bit afterwards, and that was Yen Press. And they definitely weren't like they are now. Like, that was the first ones for Yen Press. But, yeah, with Yen Press.
Okay.
So it was Little Brown and Yen Press Co-Pro.
Yep.
Yes.
But they tried to make sure they were not in the manga side. They're like, these are books and blah, blah, blah. And they did all right. But then at some point, I don't know why, but Yen Press just went full hog on this light novel thing and treated them as light novels and didn't care that they were being put with the manga and all that stuff. It's like they're all one and the same, you know what I mean?
Because but that leads to the point, because like that's where your audience is.
But it seems like the audience was there for manga, but it seems like it took a while to develop that audience for the light novel side, and maybe it's because more adaptations on the anime side are happening for light novels. Maybe that helps. You know what I mean? That's just like what happened with manga.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
That's a fair point. I think part of it is also a lot of people who were 10 years ago who were into the manga side have just grown up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're here we are talking, and happy anniversary to the round table, because on March 2nd or 3rd, we celebrated the original anime round table celebrated its 13th anniversary. Close enough. From the very first
unlucky 13, right? 13. Unlucky 13.
Wait, 5 away from 18.
That's close.
How was 18 close to 13, Mo? Come on.
That's what he said.
I was guessing at the number of times. Right? I said 18.
I thought we were talking about like the age of the podcast. I'm like, but 16 is the consent.
But it's same, because we all start, like James and I started this 13 years ago, and obviously we're 13 years on. So
I just want to say that I was pulled into a classroom, had no idea what was going on, and now Mike has never let me leave. It's like I'm trapped in his home now.
Well, we could do the old Muhammad way, blindfold you and then drop it off on the other side.
Wait, is that what you guys did with the old Muhammad?
Yeah, that's what they did.
And then we'll just drop.
Did you listen to the podcast?
And then we'll release you on the other side of 6 points.
Maybe he's in the next room. We don't know it.
Yeah, we'll just drop you off on the other side of 6 points. So
I thought you were going to drop me in the rubble of what's
whatever's
left
of the bridge in the spaghetti junction. So
they'll carry me away somewhere wherever.
But we talked about this. I mean, this is. I think that's part of it too. Like some of those people, are older now. Their tastes, in some ways, have changed, or at least what they're willing. So I think they're a little bit more in tune to the idea of something a little bit more long form.
And I think the other thing that helps, and we were talking about ebooks and stuff like that, where they're allowing them to do more of the ebook content on the manga and obviously on the light novel, but a lot more people are reading it in the electronic style, and that probably helps on the light novel end. You know what I mean?
Okay. Another discussion.
And there was another discussion
but
we said we have for that. It's gotten better on the Japanese side, but it's like they're still very conservative on what they're allowing electronically. They're very conservative, as we know.
It's a longer story, I think, and I think we'll save that for a future episode or a digest. But in many ways it's their version of digital rights of digital rights and management and stuff. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
My guess is that people now are just more interested in finding out the original source material. They just want to know, it was originally this.
And coming back down to my talk about adaptations. And
we were talking about anime, that it helps that there were more out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so they want to check it out.
Yeah. I mean,
and as we said, a lot of them sometimes are an advertisement for the original source material because they can never get through all of that. Like Slime just finished up and it's not even close to the amount of material. And
that
Berserk
is long.
And Berserk is the infamous example, of course, as well.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you like the Richard Gere Shall We Dance, let me show you the Japanese version that it was originally based on.
I thought you were going to say the Richard Gere version of Berserk. I was like,
wouldn't that be awesome? That might be great.
That would be an interesting adaptation.
Is it better than the English version of Fist of the North Stars?
Oh, you had to bring that one in. Well, I mean, that's part of the motivation. Maybe I want to know see what the real, see a more fleshed out version of the Toradora story.
Mm-hmm. Which, is like definitely like it gets to a point, and they do all right for the ending because they always had to find that point, right? Mm-hmm. But as we said, it will be interesting to see how it turns out in the light novels, and that's one I'm humming and hawing about. But I'm intrigued to hear your opinion on that when you get there.
Yeah, I'm told, like, what little I've read, because, you know, I'm busy. What little I've read seems to suggest to me the story was, like, the story we see in the anime is pretty much the entire story. So there's little details. So it becomes a matter of details. So what did change? And I
guess it's what you would say is perspective, because you can do perspective one way in prose and another way in animation, stuff like that. And they have to figure out how do you do that internal monologue and all that other stuff. Like that was...
Now that you put it in that terms, that's sort of that's the feeling, when you brought that up, that's the feeling I got when I saw, when I read the whole Hunger Games trilogy and then watched the first movie.
It's the feeling I got when I since I'm reading Tanya the Evil and stuff like that, it's a lot more internal and stuff like that, because he's reincarnated as this little girl, and it's kind of different how they have to put that onto like animation when they did the anime on Crunchyroll and stuff like that, because you want them to speak. You don't want them to be like all this internal. It wasn't as much internal, I felt, compared to the prose, and that where they can get away with that.
And that's... So I guess that's where it'll go with Toradora. I mean, just for
you get more information sometimes because you find out different motivations and different little details, as you would say.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go on, and since I brought up Hunger Games, if you want my take on the comparisons, and this will be a very quick take. I was disappointed with the movie, and so I never continued watching them. It just felt
2 was better than 1.
Okay, maybe. Okay, so maybe I will.
And then 3 was trash. 4 was.
Way to
there
go.
was 4 of them.
Because they divide the last.
The last one.
Oh, they did that. Okay,
one of those things, because they can. But it did feel, yeah. The first one was disappointing compared to the book, right?
True, because the book hyped it up a lot. The movie was limited in budget and scope. It's kind of an experiment.
There's that. Yeah, like my take on it was, because it was told in the main characters, and I forgot her name.
Oh, Katniss.
It was told in Katniss.
The book was all like internalized.
Katniss's strict point of view.
I mean, would you rather?
But the narrative was told in a more traditional way in the movie. Sorry.
True. Yeah. No, absolutely.
And that's what. And I think but I think that changed everything for me. Sorry. Go ahead, Mo.
No, you hit it right on the nail on the head.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is a great actress.
I mean, she's won. She has awards to prove that, I guess.
And she was a great choice for the role. It's just, I think the execution was just bad.
I don't know, man. I felt like at the time there was a big hubbub about that. I felt like Saoirse Ronan would have done a better job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess we can save this as we go. Save the whole.
Like a lot of others, you can continue on.
Oh, the discussion is never ending. That's the best part. I'll say this much though, before I walk away from Toradora, at least from the on this show. You have expectations. So whenever you watch something like Makoto Shinkai feature, you know what you have a good sense of what to expect, and you have that high level.
I guess
you have a fairly high level.
I just always try to keep my expectations leveled and just a little bit below average expectations.
Okay, that's fair, which is a fair statement.
Because, I look back on Shinkai's work, and you know what? I watched Voices after 5 centimeters.
Oh,
so I didn't think it was as good because by the time 5 centimeters happened, he'd already refined that story.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that was more of an amateur work, because when I watched it, I didn't think of it as much when I first saw it either for voices and stuff like that. And then I kind of grew to appreciate it after I saw his later works. You know what I mean? Because it's like, wow, this is how far he's come. You know what I mean?
So, but you have you have the bar set certain ways when you go into something. Netflix, when I going back into Bleach, you said, when Moa told me to check out Bleach, he said he liked it. So and it was fun to watch, and I kept my expectations there, and that's what it ended up being. Somebody outside. Okay.
Are they coming here?
No, they're going into their apartment beside Mike's because he has many neighbors. Anyway,
and then going back to my fall digest, I guess to round it out, us and them, like Netflix hyped it up.
True.
And then the way they hyped it up, you had that expectation, and that didn't disappoint me. Toradora, I kept my expectations maybe at the level you would describe. Mm-hmm. And maybe because of it, it exceeded it.
So. It really is one of the better romantic comedies.
Yeah,
in the last 10, 15 years.
I mean, it is considering, like in that line. I mean, would I put it in the same? Would I put it on like compared to like my two favorites, which are Kimagure Orange Road and Maison Koku? Well, I guess not to me. Those two will probably not easily be beaten.
I really need to read or watch Kimagure. I really do.
Those won't be beaten. But
love their fashion actually.
Oh, it's an 80s.
The fashion is
quite
interesting. It's
80s
in that series.
Oh, seeing Kyosuke wearing the vests. Oh my god, this does not work. Wearing the vest with the pink shirt. No.
Actually, that's coming up, isn't that? Yes. Kimagure and stuff like that. Yeah, we should be getting. Mine's probably going to be a little later because one of the things in my order was delayed.
So well, in my case, looks like foreclosure could happen with my credit card. Anyway, pick up my pen. Okay, so but I kept the. But that was good. Now I have to decide what to watch next. Thanks for the list.
Okay, who was the best girl in Toradora?
Oh, wait, what was the original question you asked? Ask the original question. What did I think of?
What do you think of Toradora? You already addressed that over the course of 10, 15 minutes.
You asked me about Amy.
Oh.
You want to ask me about Amy?
About Ami.
About Ami.
Okay.
Yeah. What did you think of Ami?
Well, it's maybe about like all the characters more, and this is to borrow from another popular cartoon, More Than Meets the Eye, because every character had throughout the course of the anime, they all exhibited some really, really interesting flaws. Right?
Yes.
Usually based on expectations or putting up facades, or or having, and it ended up going both ways because with Taiga, like you had that tsundere character who really softened up. Mm-hmm. In Ami, you had basically the opposite when it came to her. Yes. But the thing is, but as she we really got a sense of her. You had and names right now are sometimes off at the moment. Yusaku, you had you had the perfect student, but really felt the pressure to live up to that reputation. Mm-hmm. And when he had trouble with it, boy, did he go off the deep end. Mm-hmm. And you had that with Minori in some ways too. Mm-hmm. So these guys had interesting flaws that, as they got chipped away at, they really buckled in rather spectacular fashions.
Ami I liked because she was the one who called people out.
Oh no, she was, behavior. And that might have been,
and she was the last to be.
And that was probably, and yeah, I think her inclusion, but it took the rest of the 5 episodes in, was an interesting point. But obviously, those final confrontations in the final arcs were really fun.
And she did this at the sacrifice of her own feelings. Mm-hmm. And that's why, with one of my friends, Toradora ends at episode 21 or 22 because we knew that wasn't going to happen between her and Ryuji.
Oh.
So you sent them to the fan community, or the fan fiction.
Well,
to my friend, to my...
Yeah, just to imagine that part, way to go.
Oh, there is a really good Ami doujinshi now that I think about it. I have to go look for now. But in any case...
I'm sure it's very clean.
Well, sure. It had to be wiped down.
Come on, Mike. Come on.
It's a family show.
Think of the children.
Family show.
Okay, so let's. I think my thought is done. You want to finish your? You have anything a thought to finish up? Because
it just felt very real. Like it felt like these are emotions and these are situations that could very well happen in real life. Well, maybe not the snow retreat part. That was a bit exaggerated.
Let's call them plausibles.
Yes,
lots of plausibles in that. Mm-hmm. So lots of plausibles
with real family issues and real personal issues.
That's the funny, interesting part, because the two main characters came from very dysfunctional backgrounds, right?
Yes,
single mom, teenage single mom, or divorced parents.
Yes,
that was which I thought was really fascinating, and I thought there's some and they showed off the issues, like a degree of issues which are certainly very plausible issues in both cases, right?
Let me ask you this: did you think those two Taiga and Ryuji would have been together at the end, or did you think they would have actually been paired off with each other's best friends?
I think they would have been paired together because I think you go in, and I don't know why, it's like maybe we've been watching anime and reading manga way too much, but you have a sense that certain stories, just in the first few minutes or how things go in the episode, of how they're probably going to end. Now, sometimes that won't happen. Maybe they'll throw you a loop, or maybe they'll play you a bit here and there, like things will flow and change, right? But you have a feeling of the ending.
Yeah, I think if I was worried about who ended up with who, I mean, I wouldn't have been disappointed. I guess I just wouldn't have been disappointed in any way, regardless. It's just, the way, like, as I kept watching, I just thought, okay, now I can see where it could happen, where this was more like,
but it wasn't unexpected, but it was definitely the journey of how we got there was interesting. I think the journey was a lot more interesting than what others have done with that journey. You know what I mean? To pair them off together. That's what I felt.
That was fun for me.
They do that in a lot of rom-com movies too, in Hollywood rom-coms. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. So, okay. So, but good thought, and maybe as I read through the novels, I'll regard it every so often, aside from whatever else in the CR queue that I decide to watch.
The anime is going to be one of those keepers for me. I'll probably want to keep that in my collection for a good long time.
Well, you definitely will, considering everything from NIS America is out of print. They're back in.
So I checked last night because Mike and I were talking about this. The standard editions are still on Right Stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, at some point, they're going to let these things go because they've been letting most of them, but I think they're just running out the contract for a lot of these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that isn't unexpected given where we are with the players in the market and stuff like that. And Discotek has been taking a bigger share of the market. They're kind of like the Media Blasters and CPM and Bandai of the anime world right now, picking up those older titles and some newer titles from the aughts and stuff,
maybe
like
quasi boutiques too.
They're my last hope for DeCapo.
Well, you heard they got that one UFO table one from last decade. I forget the school one where basically.
I say that about you. I say that about the rest of Yawara. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, well, you never know. There could be hope. Springs eternal, right, for Yawara, but we still got, like, what was the one for anime? Go the first 70 episodes? No, maybe not the first, but it was a large chunk. You know what I mean?
Or to say Yatsura?
No, I was saying about Yawara.
It was around 40 episodes. I remember.
I think it was
40. Yeah, but it was a crazy amount. But you heard say Yatsura. We're never going to see. Like, my brother's never selling those because they got all of the things.
That's right. They did in one time, and that was it, right?
Yep. So he's got all the DVDs and everything. He's probably now started the manga, and hopefully Viz should keep up with that. They're doing the omnibuses that just started.
Okay. Speaking of
last thought.
Speaking of
last thought, because
Rumiko Takahashi, I sold that Maison Ikkoku box sets. I sold them.
Oh,
way to
boy.
go! Wow. How much? Good enough. Happy with the price?
Yeah, $900 US. Plus $40 shipping. Yeah.
Wait, how much did you sell it for?
$900 US. So that's a lot of money. That's a good price for all of it.
For
Maison Ikkoku.
Because remember, that was Viz, and that's been on print forever, and that may never see the light of day again.
Yeah.
I think there's hope. That's why I decided to let it go. I was like, I think there's hope.
You are hedging you're betting on, you're gambling just a little bit.
I also think that I have the manga. And I know you still have the DVDs.
And I still have the manga too. Both versions. Both versions of the manga.
So I feel like if I ever wanted to watch, I can always hit you up.
I guess we'll have to hit Mike up then.
You still want to borrow Shall We Dance?
No, it was the other Japanese movie I wanted to borrow, actually.
When I Close My Eyes, Love Letter.
Yes.
Okay, I have that. we'll talk afterwards. Okay.
Okay.
We'll talk afterwards.
It was kind of funny because you guys are speaking of hope, and then remembered the one that Viz has started the promotion on, which is Sailor Stars.
Now
we never thought that was going to happen.
And now we brought it. Now that I brought up Love Letter, Shunji Iwai, the director of that, Fireworks.
The live action one, right?
Well, there was an
anime one that they did, so I wasn't sure which one.
And then there was an animated. They're all him.
Okay.
Really?
They're all him. Because he also made a light novel out of it. I almost bought it.
Yeah, I saw that. I think Yen did that one too.
That movie was okay.
Which I
watched Fireworks. I didn't know it was based off of a.
No, it was a live action '90s movie from Japan, and then they remade it into an anime just now. That's what the big hook was. I thought you saw that in the promos.
No, I actually didn't. No,
it was actually one part of I think an anthology movie.
It was very pretty, but it was okay.
Well, maybe
I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not sure.
It meandered for me.
Well, maybe okay. Well, I'll lend you a Love Letter, which, funny enough, is a Korean copy. Anyway, you want to get right to the bullets, or you want to just take a quick break?
Take a break.
Take a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick break. Back with to round it off with the bullets. After this, it's the Anime Roundtable on Six Talk. All right, let me check, make sure everything's plugged in.
I'm going to unplug this right here. You don't need it.
Otherwise, that whole second segment was fucked completely.
Really earning that explicit tag, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, so for the first time in the Six Talk era, we're doing a third segment now. Who would have thunk? Lots of firsts for the last couple episodes, right?
We've never done a third segment before.
We've never done a third segment.
Oh, because our middle segment. The gap between the first and second is usually longer. That's why.
It was all pre-planned, Mike. All pre-planned.
Well, I mean, with the way this whole conversation has gone, we're not. I mean, and we did want to address these in the bullet. We wanted to address these bullets. As I said, this is Well, how do we start the bullets? So obviously, once again, this is the final segment, and it's the bullets segment. These are things. These are little things, or things that are meant to be little things that may turn into bigger things depending on how we feel about these discussions. That's normally how we start them off. But when you think about it, these three bullets are all related, right? I mean, back in the fall we talk, and James will hint at these a little bit more at length because these are more on him. But when we talked back in the fall when we talked about the Crunchyroll Funimation divorce, we talked about, we braced ourselves for the divorce happened. Now the parents are now seeing other people, and that's basically how these bullets are now.
And now they have messed up kids, just like in Toradora.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. Well, so now Funimation and Crunchyroll have started.
Basically, the contracts have started to end and stuff like that because these take time, of course. So this is the last season, and now the spring is a fresh start for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the top, using the whole romance metaphors, right? Spring. I think, never mind. Okay, let's go through each of the. I'll make that joke next episode. Okay, go ahead. You sent 3 items yesterday, or
the one that came out, I think,
the day before, and
when we had our digest 2 weeks ago, I guess that's when the Funimation Now subscription, they finally said, okay, this is what we're going to do starting in spring season, starting in April, because that's where all the new shows for them are going to go from the divorce.
Yeah, I mean, we felt it.
And we obviously were looking, because we were talking about prices before, about Crunchyroll and stuff like that, right, Mike? And so we looked at Funimation, but now it's like, okay, they have to be competitive, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like you don't have both. They're kind of intertwined. Crunchyroll, Funimation, one had dubs, one had subs. Now it's like, okay, they both are the same thing, dubs and subs, right?
Right.
So now it looks like if you look at what they're offering, they're going for the similar model to what Crunchyroll was doing with different tiers. So they have 3 tiers, it looks like, for Funimation. You're going to have Premium, which is their regular thing. Premium Plus, which is going to offer up to 5 simultaneous streams for sharing with friends and family. offline viewing and access to members-only events, as well as Funimation Shop benefits like member offers, 24-hour early access to select sales, and free shipping on orders over $20. The Premium Plus tier is available as either monthly or annual plan. The Premium Plus Ultra, which is similar to, I guess, that higher end for Crunchyroll, is going to be offered member all the benefits of Premium Plus tier, plus 2 free pay-per-view events or movies coming soon, and an annual anniversary gift, as well as enhanced Funimation Shop benefits like exclusive member offers, 48 hours early access to select sales, and free shipping on all orders. And they have all bolded.
But we're talking just the States.
Nope. That's the funny thing is in the comments, they had 2 Canadians saying, is this for Canada too? Because in the thing, they say Canada and US. So they're kind of blasé about it. They don't say anything. They haven't denied that it might come to Canada. And ironically, if they did do that, then that would one up that would one up Crunchyroll, because Crunchyroll has all that. But then in the fine print, they exclude Canada for the free shipping on their stuff, for their extra.
Woo-hoo, 2 free rentals a year. Okay. I'm just looking at this too.
But yeah, it's interesting too, because all their stuff from their store is from their Flower Mound compound down there in Texas and stuff like that. Because I have ordered, one of them, remember the Escaflowne Kickstarter?
Oh, yeah.
That one came through them, through their store, and that was great. I had no problem. I did have one problem with shipping because I ordered their special edition Cowboy Bebop Funimation.com exclusive, which was in the sleeve in that. And they really messed up, like it was ripped and stuff for that sleeve. So they had to send me another sleeve. So I have like this bent up, messed up sleeve that has nothing in it somewhere. And then I have the other one and it's just on display. And it looks kind of neat. It's very unique.
Well,
some people might not like it because it's more of, like it's more of a showcase because it's not traditional. Because it's like you have a record holder and it has the Blu-rays in it. It has some...
people like
art cards and stuff like that, and one of them has a signature by the director.
If you're a diehard, you're a diehard. If you're a diehard, you're a diehard. You know,
a lot more people went for, I think, the Amazon one, which was more prevalent. So I feel like mine's probably going to hold more value in the long run. But who knows? Those things are crazy, right?
More than likely. I mean, okay. One other thing that had my attention about the story, and double check this for me or correct me. If you were on the equivalent of, if you were already paying the equivalent of the $59.99 American.
So it says all subscribers will continue to pay just $5.99 a month or $59.99 a year versus the new regular Premium Plus, which is the one. So they're in the second tier.
Yeah, basically.
And that one is $7.99 a month and $79.99 US
a year
annually. But say you canceled, right? And you're going to be on that higher amount.
Well, I never but this is if you subscribe before, or has that cutoff date happened already?
No, I think it says beginning on April 10th, so that looks to be the cutoff date. It says beginning April 10th, Funimation will replace its current premium subscription, which is the one that's currently the $59.99 one, with the new one. So it looks like that's probably your cutoff date. So you have a bit of time to decide.
And for reference, I never did a paid subscription. I'm not totally sure if I would at this stage.
I think, they still have the free one, and I think it's not limited like some of the others where they just give you a few episodes. I think it's like Crunchy where you can watch it with the ads, and it's also open to all their stuff in Canada, unlike Crunchy where, as Kevin knows, only a certain amount of weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So it's, as I said,
but I haven't watched their ad stuff in a while, so I'm not sure how it is for their platform. And they've went through so many changes with their video platform and stream platform. Like it seemed like every year before the Crunchyroll Funimation deal, they kept on changing their website or they kept on changing their streaming service and stuff. It was just a mess. That's partly why they went to that deal, because they just never seem to have cohesion or consistency. So whether they have that going forward, it'll be interesting.
I'm not a big fan of the current Funimation streaming platform, to be honest. I think it's because sometimes it takes a bit of time for me to load, but maybe that's just my internet provider. But man, the auto quality is just so bad. I think it's like 260p or something. It's not even 480.
Really?
I suspect it's not.
Oh, on the free, but we're talking the free.
This is the free part. Wow. Yeah, because I don't.
I know. I know. But I think
because I'm not going to pay for like 2 shows, right? But because I'm trying to watch, because it's free legal, I will watch it, and so I'm trying to watch Yamato 2202 on it right now,
and
it's pretty blurry.
It's pretty even worse than when it was on Crunchy, right? Because that was on Crunchy too. Remember?
I think it's better on Crunchyroll.
Mm-hmm. And that was the old streaming before they went to the new player because. Then they got rid of it because, of course, that's when everything went down, right? Mm-hmm. So who knows how it is now compared to the old player? Yeah,
I'm like, you can't even give me 480p. Like, come on.
Well, they always had issues with their player. Like, it's a continual thing. Like, that's why maybe Sony will help them out. It's like maybe because Crackle was a part of that division of Sony, correct? I believe so. Maybe that could help. But Crackle wasn't that great either. If you've watched some stuff on that.
It's had issues.
And I watched Haganai on Funimation.com years ago as well because I wanted to give them like the whatever 2 cents or whatever, and I actually didn't have any issues with their video player then.
Well, they kept on going through one after the other. You know what I mean? Like, and then it just was something.
You have a subscription, James?
No, I canceled my subscription as soon as the Crunchyroll Funimation deal happened because I'm like, okay, if they're just dubs, then why am I even subscribing to this?
Are you considering a subscription again?
I'm considering, but I'm on the fence, and probably I'm not gonna care. I'm not gonna go for the cheaper one, even though I know they said that it'll go up and stuff like that. I think I might just stay on the sidelines for as long as I can because they're still just starting this new thing. Like all they have is that firefighter anime and fruit baskets.
Basically, dip your toe, not go head first.
I'm gonna be like Kevin. I'm basically gonna watch the ads.
Are those exclusive on Funimation's website?
Yes. Ah. Then now the thing is, I say exclusive, and for us in Canada, that would be correct. But then remember, they made that deal with Hulu. But remember, Hulu is only in the States
at the moment.
Wow, we'll see. But
didn't they announce plans to come up to Canada?
No, they can't.
They can't. Okay,
licensing reasons.
Okay,
yep. There are a lot of licensing things that prevent stuff. But that's why I figured that it's nice you announced that, but that can't come here, even though we're in the same region.
To be fair to Funimation, I mean that's in that premium plus in that plus tier offline viewing, so you can download a la what they.
Don't they offer that for Crunchyroll? I thought they were getting into that. They don't yet.
They don't.
Interesting.
They still don't.
Because I thought there was talk of that. Maybe it was a different source I'm thinking of. There's so many people that have been going into that realm. You know what I mean?
Which tells me now that you do watch your Crunchyroll on consoles, not on devices, on mobiles.
Yeah, no, I watch it on the consoles and that. Like that's how I've been watching a lot of my streaming stuff is through the video game consoles, whether it's Xbox One, PS4, or what have you.
Chances are it's unfiltered at least. I mean, you can get School Days on it.
Yep. Well, it was interesting. High Dive sent out a blast this week because remember we were talking about the same issues with Apple devices and them not having certain content. Monster Musume was one of them. Well, now they said you can filter your shows and have mature content or non-mature content. You know what I mean? Oh. So that'll be interesting to see if that solves their problem for Apple. But people are saying Apple is still restricting stuff on their app, which they're probably still doing, obviously, on other apps like Crunchyroll.
Makes sense.
And the simple solution is to buy an Android phone instead.
I thought the simple solution was to write to Tim Apple and he will solve our problems.
Please, Mr. Tim Apple, I would like some anime, please.
We're calling him Tim Apple now.
That's his name. I think legally he has to change his name from Tim Cook to Tim Apple. That's just the way it goes.
Really?
And then once he leaves and he's no longer the CEO of Apple, and the next guy comes in, he then has to change his name to Bob Apple or Sarah Apple.
I thought it went to Steve Jobs and then it went to Tim Apple, and then they keep on switching back and forth between Steve Jobs and Tim Apple.
Yeah, Tim Cook is crazy. Oh my gosh,
it's hilarious. Okay, so. Yeah, it's just personally for me, I've yet to really get value. I mean,
I don't think the value's there at the moment, and I think for free value, we'll probably we can go through the ads and we'll work for it. Maybe, as Kevin said, maybe we can use ad blocker, but who knows? He said that Crunchyroll, we can't do that anymore, huh?
Not on Crunchyroll, no.
Well, he said the end is nigh.
I mean, for me,
no, the ads are not bad because they're actually relevant anime ads.
Oh, okay, I thought it was going to be like those ads for the blue pill and all this other stuff. It's like, hey, man,
those ads were horrendous.
I mean, for me personally, I mean, I just told you, I finished Toradora earlier this week, and I'll pick something else from there to watch. I haven't continued watching, for some reason, maybe not so surprisingly, I haven't watched any more Battleship Tiramisu from the time I showed it to you guys.
Oh, really?
Aww.
Maybe I will, because I have time. I mean, Vicky, I'm on the verge of starting something on that, but I haven't started watching anything there. Mm-hmm. And Netflix, I still should continue Terrace House, and I did finish watching at least episode 1 of the Marie Kondo show, nice. Tying up with Marie Kondo. So, I mean, I won't form any more. I won't bore anybody with any more thoughts there, but. Mm-hmm. You know, but my point is, I'm just illustrating. I have trouble justifying the Funimation thing. Besides, I have to pay for that backpack. The backpack I just bought. So
the what now?
Oh, sorry, that's after we're done.
Okay.
Okay, so that's bullet 1.
Mm-hmm.
Bullet 2. So let's talk about the other parent.
Yeah, I guess we might as well talk about the Canadian story since we are Canadian after all. And
okay.
Wait, what now? Since when?
I don't know. We're American now?
I guess so.
Okay. I thought we were dirty foreigners, but anyway.
Oh.
Hey, man, I have to steal American jobs, guys. That's the Canadian way. Every time I think
don't make me
And guess what? They can't stop me. There's nothing to stop me from crossing the border. What are they going to do?
You'll find that little hole to slip through. like those people in Quebec.
I promote Mike. Poor Mike. Anyway. But we were going to talk about Chorus and that. And the reason why we were talking about that is Adult Swim coming to Canada finally as a 24-hour network, not as on-demand and stuff like that.
Well, this is a bit of a, like we're talking Chorus. And we can go on about Chorus. Actually, I'll finish my thought. I'll finish that thought later. But when you say 24-hour network, that's not something that exists in the States, like as a linear network.
That's correct.
And they have done it in other international markets, I believe. They have done it.
But these are digital. Isn't this like a digital?
Yeah, it's like they've done in the other markets where it's a digital channel. So it's taking over the Action channel, which was another Chorus channel. So obviously they didn't have the views. You can only get so many people to watch Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 2 on Christmas, every Christmas.
And then it really peters out later on.
Yeah.
Die Hard 3, Die Harder, Another
Die
Day.
Hardest.
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day.
No, that's not a day. I know that's not.
No, whatever.
Just die already.
Just
Come on, guy.
Okay. Finish the thought.
No, that was the whole thought. But
well,
it's like
it made me reflect a little bit because when we talk Chorus in terms of anime and you know, one guy that I would be perfect for this conversation, and I hope we have him on, Jesse Betteridge from Xanon. Because he's coming to Anime North. There's
the story that he's interested in, and he talks about it's like being engaged with the CRTC, which many people aren't. And it starts with that story when we were way younger in the 90s, and that when these specialty networks came over here, and they didn't want all the American channels like just coming over the border. They wanted some Canadian content. Canadian content was stronger, and Canadian branding. So you had Teletoon instead of cartoon. We had Space instead of sci-fi and
Comedy Network here, Comedy Central there.
But you definitely felt a different vibe from those channels than you did from their American counterparts. And they definitely had a personality.
Oh, much.
Their own personality.
And then we talk Chorus again, and then remember also the other story was for a time Chorus had a license for an all anime channel as well. This was
I remember those days.
And I guess I think it was going to be under the Bionics labeling, I believe, maybe.
Well, I mean, it's a reflection for me, and I reflect on it a little bit because at the time I applied to Chorus as well to work as a forum monitor. This was like around the same time the news hit. And I remember the interview for that, and obviously I didn't get the job, but it's more of a case of they were surprised how much I knew what was going on, because they felt that the license for that would-be channel was that would-be network was very much low key, but I assured them that there's a lot of interest. Yeah. There is quite a bit of interest.
As we learned with Crunchyroll, it's like there's a lot of passionate people, even though it's a small slice of the pie, and that's why a lot of them went that way.
They keep up. They kept up. So that was news at the time. So that'll start out April 1st?
Yeah. Now, here's what they say on some of the stuff. They say, so it says, the announcement stated that the channel will feature new and returning animated comedies and live action programming. Nothing from the Toonami block was mentioned, even though that's been basically a part of their late night Adult Swim block, and that's the anime programming. The announcement did state Adult Swim Canada will mirror the programming and brand voice of the U.S. channel, delivering audiences new series day and date with the U.S. year-round. So that means some of the stuff that was on Teletoon at night is probably maybe going to move over there, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing was the channel will be available for 2 free months for a free preview from April 1st to May 31st. And then viewers can watch full episodes on demand for free until January 2020.
Okay.
So that's what they're saying in their announcement. But we'll see how it goes. Like, it seems like it could be like some of those other ones where it's going to be more Adult Swim focused than anime. There might be some, but
if memory serves me right on the announcement too, they sort of have to be a little careful for like age appropriate programming for time of day.
Mm-hmm.
So to that end, I heard Bob's Burgers got picked up for the channel too.
Yeah, no, stuff like that. Like you have Family Guy, like the usual suspects are definitely going to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
basically syndication-esque programming.
You could definitely still have those other Toonami programs from their afternoon block in there, like they used to. Like I remember in the early aughts, like late 90s, when we used to go down for March break to Florida and stuff like that. And that's how somehow we got more exposure to anime. Was you had like Ronin Warriors, Gundam Wing. Gundam Wing was not uncut, but the cut version in the afternoon. And then we're like, oh, we're going to watch the uncut like late at night at midnight. And it was still Toonami branding. It was before Adult Swim. And it's like, you see the uncut and like, really? It's like, what was the point of all these cuts? It's like, and then of course it comes up here and we didn't have to worry about the cuts because it's like, so they may have more leeway here than you think.
Okay.
You know what this means, though?
And it is a digital channel, so remember that. It's like...
Because I don't think that last season of Samurai Jack ever aired here.
No, it didn't.
That means we can finally get that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely going to leave a hole in Teletoon for their late night thing because they were definitely getting stuff from
that's true,
Adult Swim and stuff like that. I'm not sure if Freeway Fred is still doing the in-between stuff. He did some great work with them and stuff like that, kind of like the PJ. He said that was kind of like the dream job because he was like local radio celebrity in Toronto. He was working on 102.1 The Edge, and now he's moved over to another Chorus sister station, Q107 and stuff like that. And so that's probably why they got him, because Chorus family of companies, right?
All in the family, dude. All in the family.
But yeah, no, that's
you wonder about Disney and Fox. Well, that's still another.
Everyone will become a Disney princess. All the Marge will be a princess. Lisa will be a princess. It's like,
way to go. Okay, last thought.
Yeah, no, that's
well, that's that one. That's Adult Swim. You had one more bullet.
Oh yeah, we had.
Well, did you have another thought on
no, I think that's pretty much it. But it'll be interesting. It's the relation to the next story where we talked about Crunchyroll and Adult Swim. Obviously, they're now part of the Warner family, of course, and they're all in this
family too.
And they're all in the same division. So they said you have Boomerang, you have Adult Swim, you have Cartoon Network, you have Crunchyroll, you have Rooster Teeth, and there might have been a few others,
Vic.
but it's kind
of Vic, yeah.
But
I'm sorry, who now?
Never mind. You don't want to know.
Who's this person we're talking about? Anymore? I could have sworn we were talking about him earlier, but I thought we weren't talking about him.
But anyway, so Adult Swim and Crunchyroll, now that they're closer together to cement the relationship, I guess, they announced new programming partnership and expanded distribution deal, basically. And Crunchyroll will now be their premier content partner for the Toonami block. And obviously Funimation was filling some of that because they got some of the premier titles and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes forward. And then they talked about the companies collaborating on licensing content, co-productions, and distribution opportunities. So that probably helps them out too as well, because we talked about, well, the price is still going to either stay the same or go up, right, for these new shows coming out.
Yeah.
So where are they going to get the money? So Crunchyroll side is going to be Warner, obviously, and we were talking about that AT&T money and stuff like that, but it's going to come through Adult Swim as well. So that's where the budgeting is going to come through, and obviously Funny's got the Sony empire there, so that'll probably help them out a bit.
There's money, whether it's AT&T and Warner or...
It's like maybe they'll sell them some phone plans along the way. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, I mean, as I said, this is how the dating scene is for these guys. Well, we shouldn't be surprised. I guess the thought is okay. My first blush is telling me on the Crunchyroll thing. Is it getting away from its DNA a little bit? Because it was an anime service. And an anime fandom can be defensive about a lot of things, too.
And it didn't occur to me that they could possibly not show anime on it. But then they've been doing their own content.
Yeah, they were talking about doing their own content. Basically, they were going to create all the stuff, but then it was their own original properties, but animated with creators and stuff like that in Japan. They were doing that with the Blade 2049 was one of the ones they were doing. They have some other ones in the pike that they were talking to. Whether it all pans out, we'll see. It's like, will it be another OEL manga situation where we see a few of them and then it...
Good compare. That's an interesting comparison to make.
Well, I think it could go that way, but I don't think it'll go that way. But I still think that's a possibility you can't rule out.
No. Well,
that's what is in the back of my mind when I think of this.
I know you want to say something. Did you want to say something? No.
Oh, right. Rick and Morty. Won't that be on the new Adult Swim? Isn't that?
That'll probably be on there. I think were they showing that on Teletoon? They must have. I feel like it was Teletoon. So that probably would be on there as well for the new channel, stuff like that. So 2 months of that and then no more.
Exactly.
You'll have to go to McDonald's and get your Szechuan sauce or whatever the heck it is.
Is this the online version of this? Will it be an on-demand service or just an online streaming 24/7 type situation? Like, what's going to happen?
For which?
For the Adult Swim 24/7 channel.
That's digital TV, remember. So that's for your TV box and stuff like that.
Basically
for 2 months.
Cable and satellite.
And then they talk about, at the end, I think where you might have been confused is on demand for free until January 2020. But I feel that's more tied to the TV box when they talk about on demand, not online.
Okay.
A lot of those on demands, they've been talking more about, and they're tied with the digital stuff, seem to be more with the TV box. They're near the HBO and TMN of your TV box. You know what I mean? For stations and that?
Yeah, I see
where it's like, okay, I want to order this or that.
What?
People still do on demand on their TV box?
Yeah.
It's still there. It's still there. And they still have stuff for like HBO.
People still buy non-pornographic content on demand, like, man.
Remember, like, what was it? Anime Network, which was
content on demand.
Anime Network still had stuff on demand on the Rogers for the longest time. I'm not sure if they have it anymore, but it was on demand. Some of the Sentai ADV stuff on demand for the longest time under Anime Network.
I guess there was never a wind down provision.
There must have. It's probably gone by now, but I never used it, but I remember it was there
I remember seeing it.
And it was still there for the longest time.
Even after probably it should have died. What are you watching? Oh yeah, that's right. We have Overwatch on.
Who's that character that's a ball?
Oh,
the hamster.
Wrecking Ball.
The hamster.
Yeah, Wrecking Ball they call him.
New character.
Yeah, it's a new character. And that's the 3-3 that's the 3-3 composition that's so popular in Overwatch League. Like he's part of that, so yeah, it's a hamster.
For Adult Swim, if there's anime, I would actually consider paying for that. Because I actually miss watching anime that's not Pokemon on TV.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and as I said, it's I reflect on it because
but the Toonami
I think about the potential there.
Like the Toonami component is there, and they talk about day and all this other stuff. So you would think that may be a part of the equation. And then you have this thing about bringing all these family members closer on the Warner side. So you think that would translate over. You know what I mean?
That's
for more content from Crunchyroll.
For that partnership deal, I only had thought about, they'll just play the dubs of like JoJo and Boruto and whatever, I actually didn't think about the North American animated stuff. So I didn't think about, maybe Rick and Morty would be on Crunchyroll, or Robot Chicken would be on Crunchyroll. That actually never.
There are definitely opportunities. That's not going to happen. Obviously, the North American stuff coming to there, but that could be a possibility. But I don't think that would be, because you still have Adult Swim own their own streaming service and stuff like that for Robot Chicken and all the other stuff. That's another one that'll definitely come over. Robot Chicken, everyone.
I was always confused by the whole idea of third-party sites that were selling. So like on like Google Play or the iTunes store, you can buy episodes of Rick and Morty, right? So if this streaming service has like an on-demand service and you can watch Rick and Morty, then what's the incentive of them still releasing it there, I guess?
But yeah, no, you have your different digital platforms, Amazon, Google Play, all the other ones. But as we said, what we're saying now, just to not muddy the waters, is we're talking about TV. That's what we're talking about. TV.
Television.
On demand.
TV.
That's what we're talking about.
Gotcha.
That's what Course is talking about on this. TV. Not
the on demand.
Even
service.
even though there is on demand online, you know what I mean, on the PC and for the other stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's it. As I said, it has.
Is there enough content for them to do the 24/7?
Yep, there definitely is enough content throughout because Adult Swim, remember, it's been here since the early aughts and stuff like that. True. And you do have, obviously a lot of the early anime stuff is basically went by the wayside as contracts and stuff like that. But some of it was picked up again. I think they did Cowboy Bebop again, and that's when Funimation picked it back up again, right? So they have dealt with them before, so they can get some of those evergreen titles.
It's the potential. That's
you could see Trigun again.
It's just the potential.
I could. Yes.
Okay. Or Outlaw Star.
Ooh.
And you might see a bathroom scene, or a hot spring scene. I mean,
oh boy,
that one episode that they just couldn't show.
And
the crazy thing, what was that? That was like 1 a.m. in the morning, or it was so late at night. It's like, well, who's watching at 1 a.m.? Like, why would your child or anyone that age be up at that time? That's the question mark in my head.
That's true. I mean, isn't the law or the rules say like after 9 p.m. you can start showing more graphic things, I guess, and after midnight you can start even more graphic things, right? Isn't that how it works?
Sort of, yeah.
As you know, they have double standards, right? Because it's like, it's a cartoon animated, or something like that.
It's a cartoon, yeah.
Like
that's one way to put it.
Yeah. Well, thinking of that,
booyah.
We'll go for the last point. I was going to talk about. I think I was going to talk about Fate Stay Night, the new movie and stuff like that.
Because these guys, you've seen it.
Well, I'm going to talk about
the other way. Now we're going the other way.
I'm going to talk about
into the theaters.
I'm talking about generalities, like
on the topic of reverse roles. Way to go!
Thinking about, since we had to talk about all the content, that it was funny. It was 14A was what they rated at the movie theater for the new Fate Stay Night movie.
Okay,
and I see the movie. And as you know, Heaven's Feel is more graphic, and the second movie gets more graphic. And I'm thinking to myself, This must be the higher end of 14A.
Higher end of 14A.
the higher, because remember, there's then 18A, right? But I'm thinking this is the higher end of 14A. I'm just thinking to myself after I watched that movie too, thinking after I saw it, and thinking of what you said there about content and all that.
That reminds me of how Alita got a PG-13 rating, but that is not a PG-13 movie.
What was it here? 14A Pride then, I guess?
No, it's PG here.
Yeah.
It's PG?
It's PG. Because the James Cameron influence.
True. Plus, there wasn't anything that would make it.
It gets pretty violent.
What? Well, I mean, you see robots get dismembered.
That's
thing.
About it. They're robots. They're not, and humans aren't being killed.
No, they're cyborgs, so they're still human. No, they get fucking destroyed. Remember that scene? Remember the scene with the guy with the scissor, like the saw hands, and he got like dragged into that crushing machine.
Had his face ripped off.
Yeah.
Well, spoiler alert: there was some animated blood in the new Fate Stay movie. So
only some.
Only some. Yes.
Okay, so you're planning to see that later, both of you? I have a birthday party to go to, but
probably not.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
Well, they do have a lot of showings, which is kind of nice, and it's nice that they released it.
Was it actually?
Yeah, yep, 14A. I told you that.
It's 14A.
Someone lied to me.
Anyway, so the other thing that was interesting there thinking about is that they're releasing the same date as the States, which last time we were a month later. Go ahead, Mo, and finish your thought, and then we'll...
No. I was just going to say the exact same thing you were going to say about releasing it at the same time as the US. That's always a big problem when they release it.
And then it wasn't one of those, you know how sometimes they do these events and then it's like one day or whatever. We got over the weekend and we have had some different time slots. That's why I went 10 p.m. on Thursday. interesting thing, I told Mike about this. So there were 10 people in the theater when I went watching this. So that's all that was watching. So I got a great seat.
Winston Churchill?
Yeah. So I got 10 people at 10 p.m. on Thursday. It was great. But only one guy when I walk in about 20 minutes before. And this was just crazy. For that 20 minutes, he had his laptop open. He's in the middle of the thing, and he was watching the first movie before this. So I'm sitting here watching the first movie with it because I'm far back, but I could see it all. Wow. And he actually had some of the audio. So I'm watching the first movie with this guy. And then some of the other guys just like, we'll just watch it, and then we'll go to our seats.
He downloaded it into his laptop or something?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was already in there. It definitely was not the official Aniplex release. But he was watching it there, subtitles and stuff like that, and that was just a laugh just seeing that. That was pretty. And then I guess
I gotta respect they didn't that, or make fun of it, one or the other. It's going to be one extreme.
I remember when I watched the first movie, and
I guess it looks like I mean,
people were laughing at the Mabu Tofu scene because that's one of those infamous scenes in the visual novel, and so my crowd, there were definitely people who played the visual novel are just big fans because they were just laughing during that scene.
Well, there wasn't as much interaction because there was 10 people, but we definitely had some moments, but it was more quieter and introspective, which was an interesting thing given what was before the movie, because I've noticed in some of these events, they have extra stuff on top of the movie. So they actually had 5 minutes before the movie, and it actually said Fathom Events, so they just gave it to Cineplex for whoever, probably Aniplex. But they had the director, they had a few minutes with him, then it cut to a few words from the seiyuu of Emiya and Sakura. And so it was interesting, the director, when the star, he looked fucking scared and petrified and was reading off a teleprompter probably because it was just like, he sounded broken, he's just trying to get through and stuff like that. Just trying to thank us for coming out to watch the movie. I was like, oh my God, this poor dude. It's like, he just doesn't want to be here and he still has to get this third movie out the door. And then the second part with, obviously, because they were more upbeat, they weren't scripted. Outgoing. They were not scripted at all. It's like but they were unscripted. Outgoing. But they were talking about the premiere event in LA of the first movie and how we were more outgoing and stuff like that and cheering for our favorite characters, unlike the Japanese audience that were quiet and just wanted to watch the movie. And they also, the other interesting thing about the seiyus was talking about UFO Table and saying that this would be an experience you won't forget because it's like the greatness of Japanese animation, like one of the greatness. And I thought about that because Discotheque had a series, I forget what it was called, but it was just solicited. It was an old UFO Table one from last decade. And I was thinking to myself, I can't believe this has happened because UFO Tale, they were kind of like doing TV animes and stuff like that, middle of the road for animation, stuff like that. They were no candle to Kyoto Animation, even back then, the Haruhi days animation and stuff like that. But now, once they got their hands on Fate, I feel, and doing all these different Fate franchises and other things this decade, like they've upped their game. Even the TV anime stuff with Fate Zero and with Unlimited Blade Works, those were not TV anime quality. That was
those
quality
are really
above.
Good.
And
they were amazing.
And even in this movie, like in the first movie, the quality was just above, like way above whatever you would call fantastic. Like it was mind blowing. Like my mind was blown watching all the different scenes, all the different action. Like you are engaged from the start to the beginning for those 2 hours.
I want them to remake the first Fate arc.
I know. Well, I don't think they'll do that because it's like Dean did do it, but they kind of mixed things, and I know it's troubling. But
fans will eat that shit up if they remake it.
I think
that's just a license to print money.
And the other thing, though, is
casino. Sorry.
And the other thing is with the animation and with the high quality bar, they said you can see why it's taken them so long because they announced the Heaven's Feel arc like a year or so after Unlimited Blade Works, so 2016. But you can see they've planned it. And you can see, the third movie, like they're going to get it in a good way, like how they've planned it for these 3 movies. It wasn't like Unlimited Blade Works Dean movie where you had to fit all that in 2 hours. And it was just rush.
Yep.
It's like, it does feel rushed, but it's like a good rush. Like, it's all planned out. You can see it all coming together. You know what I mean?
That's why I like the new Yamato series. Sorry to segue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because
no, it's okay.
They did those in 4 episode they only made those 4 or 5 episodes at a time. They would put those out as a movie in Japan, and then you can go buy the Blu-ray like almost immediately after. But then, because it came out in movies first before airing on TV, they had the time to actually make it good, and it shows. That's just what I thought of when you were talking about that.
Yeah, and they gave them the time because they had the delay, because remember, it was supposed to be out like late October, early November, delayed it till beginning of January for Japan. So they've given them the time, and now they say spring 2020, but we'll see if they can make that date. But it's definitely like, and the other thing about Heaven's Feel that it feels good is, remember, it ties into the Fate Zero a bit. Even though it's funny when you think about it, this was all done before Fate Zero was even novelized.
Yes.
And so it's kind of a different experience for some people watching this because they may have watched that first, but this arc definitely ties into that more, and the character interactions kind of do those callbacks in this one to that. And you will feel that when you watch in the second movie, and it was there obviously in the other movie. You know what I mean?
Most fans suggest watching Fate Zero after Heaven's Feel for sure, for those reasons.
But unfortunately, that's not going to be a realistic case for a lot of people and how people are normally going to do it. You know what I mean?
You know what Reddit was saying? Play the first arc of the Fate Stay Night visual novel because the Dean version does not exist, and then you watch Unlimited Blade Works and you watch the Heaven's Feel movies, and then you watch Fate Zero.
But you talk about all that, and that
Haruhi or Kyon order, right?
Yeah. But now we talk about order and stuff like that. And that was the other thing I thought after the end of the movie about the greatness of just going through this movie and the animation, all of that. And it makes me think I'm probably going to feel the same way after the third movie. And I'm going to feel great about the Heaven's Feel arc through the 3 movies and that, because they nailed it with planning it and not rushing it, even though it's 3 movies and
etc.
But it's still going to leave me with that feeling of Lunar Legend Tsukihime. I want UFO Table to go back and do that, please.
Yeah, that doesn't exist either, according to most people.
I know. Well, I would love for them to go back and do that, because that was the first one from Type Moon, of course, before they went completely professional with Fate.
Yep.
And it does.
You are a dreamer. You are a dreamer.
But I know I'm a dreamer, but it was something that is still on my mind after I watched it. I'm like, Tsukihime in this animation, like this high quality animation style.
Well, I guess, as I said, I fully admit the Fate Stay stuff I don't keep up with.
Well, that's the other thing I will tell you about is that...
Well, like this is the last thought for Fate before we go, but...
And we talked about this, Mike, and that is, I've only been watching mainline Fate, which is based on the original game. So that is Unlimited Blade Works. Yes, Fate Zero is the novelization, but it kind of ties in there. Heaven's Feel, and then, of course, the Fate route. Even though I've watched the Deans, I don't mind them, but I know people don't like them.
I didn't actually mind it either, to be honest.
But we have those other ones that they've been doing. We have these games from Exceed and Marvelous. We have...
Fate Grand Order.
That Netflix one, whatever it's called, Fate
Apocrypha.
The Fate Ilzia ones, which Sentai's been releasing those ones.
Those Metal Girl ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we have the one that is like those ones. I haven't watched at all. It's like I'm fine with just the mainline stuff.
Oh, and there's also the Emiya cooking one too.
Emiya cooking one. I haven't watched that either. But I know a lot of people they've been making money, and it's amazing all these spinoffs they've created. But it's mostly been just the main line for me. And the other one that's going to come out that's probably going to earn them big bucks, I maybe might watch the first episode, is the Fate Grand, the one after the mobile game. They announced that's going to get an anime.
Wait, there's a...
Grand Order.
They're making a Grand Order anime?
Yep, they said they're going to do it. I don't know when they're going to do it, but they said they're going to do something off that. And that's like the most popular mobile game. Like you saw about Twitter and that, right? Like that's basically up there, number 1. And people are like, what's this Fate Grand Order game?
Oh, Fate Grand... Oh.
But supposedly they're making big bucks off the whales on that game. That's making Aniplex and Sony big money. Like the Fate franchise, it's crazy how... It's like...
There is an actual story in Fate Grand Order?
I guess they're going to create something on it. They've done other anime off other mobile games, because what was... You know the Pokemon Go game? Like they had another game before that, and they're making an anime off.
Yeah, I don't get that. Why they're making an Ingress anime?
Yeah, Ingress anime. That's what it is. So think about it. If they can make an anime off Ingress, then I'm sure they can figure something out for Fate Grand Order at some point
Ingress
next year.
had some kind of backstory, like spies and stuff like that, or like something along those lines, right?
Well, if they can make a movie
about Angry Birds, I think they make
or emojis, then yeah, they'll figure something out. Fucking emoji movie.
Oh well.
Are you guys all excited for next month's release of Evangelion?
Oh, you mean on Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't thought of it at all. I
haven't actually.
Now that you bring up April,
I can't believe the third movie is coming out that soon.
I know, right, guys? Seriously.
No, the fourth movie.
Or fourth movie. I can't see. You see, it's been so long. I'm like, whatever movie we're on.
I know there's definitely two. I don't know about a third or a fourth.
That's the thing, because you were talking about how they've been spending the time to polish these movies, and then I instantly thought, and then we have the Evangelion movies, because Otto has no fucking clue what he's gonna do to conclude this franchise.
But you know what I mean, I guess, on the Fate one is like, obviously the director is the director of all three movies, and they actually put a plan to get those things together, which Anno should have done, you know, like you need to look.
The material exists for Fate, whereas he has to, where Otto has to pull a new ending out of his ass.
Wow, it's like you have a lot of confidence in the last movie.
And he had what, 6, wasn't it like 6 or 7 years ago when that movie came out?
So you're saying Godzilla is definitely going to be in the next movie?
Definitely, right?
Definitely Godzilla.
That was a really good movie.
It was a really good movie, but
Godzilla is really good.
But no, he did that like to kind of refresh himself, and you could tell that from that movie too. Like, so
really?
hopefully that does refresh himself, and that he's able to come down strong on that
I need to make money
movie.
since I'm not making Evangelion right now, and I've written myself into a corner. So I'll just make Godzilla instead.
Wow, wow. Tell us how you really feel.
I feel like he really did write himself into a corner, just like Kentaro Miura did too.
Just going for the throat.
Jugular.
And
finish him.
And Yoshihiro Togashi, I feel like he wrote himself in. That's the Hunter x Hunter guy, by the way.
Oh boy.
Wrote himself into a corner too.
On the topic of April, though, and I have no clue how to follow that up. I mean, really into April, I guess the International Fan Festival. Well, I don't want to get go too much longer because we're over like a 2 1/4.
Don't worry, some people have long commutes, Mike.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah,
especially in traffic,
especially in the 401. Let's I want to save that talk for a little bit more because I get the feeling we're gonna for next time because I get the feeling we'll be around. We'll do at least one more episode before the International Fan Festival on Easter
that's happening on the 20th.
Yeah, that's happening Easter weekend, and they're having the whole Fate crew there, so you can.
Tickets are on sale.
Also, my birthday.
Oh, cool. I think that's more important.
And Penguin Highway is also happening that weekend too.
So
are we all going to this?
I got my early tickets. I got the early bird tickets because I felt like I didn't
going because I'm debating on going to either Seattle or New York during that time.
That's true. I was also debating going to Oakland to see the Blue Jays play, but that's a good.
I promised I'd go, so I probably will, but I haven't gotten a ticket, which means I'm going to pay for it.
Because SakuraCon is that weekend. They always do it during Easter weekend.
And Anime Boston sometimes does theirs during that weekend. Yes. I think they might be during this year.
It's cute.
Because Ryuki Shio 7 is going to SakuraCon, so I was like,
all the big ones, are actually Kuricon, like Yen Press, and all the main companies are going to be there. That's why it's interesting that they chose this Easter weekend for the Fan Fest, and that they were able to get all those Fate actors together. Like, it seems a lot of the cons are getting the Seiyu like from a certain series so that they can promo, you know what I mean, the new series coming up on streaming, which seems to be the thing.
Well, it's because they're a for-profit too.
Yeah. Well, what was it? I saw a weird one on that. I think it was Anime Boston, and a lot of the people they got were from the new City Hunter movie, and no one has talked about or announced anything on that, and that's an older property. And they're saying, oh, these guys from the new City Hunter movie are kind of Anime Boston, all this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like, how many people are going to be in that room? Because that's an older property, you know what I mean?
No one under 40 or nobody not from France cares about City Hunter.
Hey, I have the ADV DVDs, and City Hunter is still a great, like, I've enjoyed his work, City Hunter, Cat's Eye, and stuff like that, but they're older series, you know what I mean?
They are older, that's the issue.
Actually, I didn't I only know about City Hunter because I watched Angel Heart back in like 2006.
Oh yeah,
Wow,
his new one.
That was like a recent. That's a fairly.
That's one of his more recent ones. Yeah,
but yeah, it's old. It's old. We're talking real old.
Which ticket did you get? Which ticket did you get? Which tier ticket did you get?
Tier did I get?
Early bird.
I got the early bird 45. I got the day after, so they had the $20 ones got out really quickly, and then that other one
30.
before I thought I would be able to get, but supposedly I guess they only did it for the day of. So those sold out really quick. They did very timed on those ones too. So I got the 45, but the 45 is now sold out.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, so if I'm in, it's a 60, but at least I get a bag.
That's true. That's true.
But that's getting close to being sold out too, I think, if I remember.
56%.
Okay, well,
as of right this now.
The real question mark is, what does that even mean? Like, I feel like those are pointless numbers, just putting up percentages and stuff like that. And other stores do that too. Like, you don't even have a real number. Like, they could be making that up.
When
I
order books on Indigo. Anyway, well, we'll talk about that a little more before it happens, I suppose. Okay. I mean, if you're going,
I'm fitting it into the season, so I'm probably not going to be on next month.
Oh yeah, to do the show.
Yeah, no, it's like, tis the season, right? We got a month of taxes.
Oh yes, that's right. Back at work.
Oh, yes.
One last thought
Yes,
before we go.
right.
This has to be related, please.
Oh no last thought from me. Let's continue on. And just you mentioned taxes, and I wanted to talk about that.
We'll talk about that a bit later. We'll talk about.
We'll get free tax advice right on the show here.
Yeah. Tune into the newest show on the Six Talk Podcast Network. Actually, we're done. That's pretty much it. I think we've exhausted everything we wanted to say this time around. We had a lot to say.
There are K-pop concerts everywhere in Toronto in the next 2 months.
Did the One Ok Rock show already happen in Toronto?
Yes, it did.
How'd that go?
Well, they're not. They're J-pop.
I know they're J-pop.
I argue that they're not J-rock anymore. Like, my friend jokes that they're called One Ok Pop now.
Oh boy.
Because they're now signed to a Western record label. A lot of the last 2 albums have been predominantly English, which is fine, but it's not the same. I just preferred the rock stuff more.
Okay.
But it was still a good show.
Oh, you went?
I went.
When was it?
It was end of February.
Okay.
It was at Rebel. And then saw Red Velvet. That was good. Outfits were kind of garbage. And they didn't play my second favorite song, but it was still a good concert overall. One of the members lived in Richmond Hill at one point. So that was a nice little homecoming for her around the date of her birthday. So that was cute. What else did I? Oh no, I'm actually going to see Perfume when they come over.
Oh,
because they're coming.
When are they coming? Do you know?
I think it's early April is when they're coming, and then Gazette's coming early May.
They're trying.
Well, those are Japanese acts.
Those are Japanese acts, but still, I know I would recognize those names. I've seen some of their videos. I mean, well done.
It's a nice crowd for Gazette because that's not it's going to be my second time seeing them here.
So they'll people who know them will want to see them. So I'm pretty sure.
I think Perfume sold out. I think.
I wouldn't doubt it. Actually, I wouldn't doubt it. They're still up there. Okay, let's. I guess we can talk that over a little bit later on, and then try and come up with new material for whenever we tape again. Oh, well,
we probably got one more in us before the Anime North extravaganza, as they say.
We have something.
Yeah, definitely.
We have something.
One in April, at least.
Well, we'll talk in April.
Maybe May.
We'll talk in April. We'll start.
Definitely before September.
Yeah, definitely before September. Definitely, and we'll try and do something before Anime North. Okay. So, well, it's also Saturday, and let's enjoy let's get out there and enjoy the rest of the weekend. It's cold though. And let's call it a show. So, God knows when we'll be back. Probably a couple weeks. Probably one of us is going to say something in a couple weeks. Probably me. Probably going to be me. But that's it. Enjoy the rest of the Saturday, folks. And then tune in again next time for another edition of the Anime Roundtable on Six Talk. Have a good night from Toronto. up.
Yep.
What? Yep.
Now you're gonna get tons of noise complaints.